say what went wrong. So I can let the finish, I can eat the choke. It's a world that a wisdom only will tell me what went wrong. I paid my dues, I've sold my soul. So tell me what is left for me when I've given up everything. We paid our dues, we've sold our souls. So tell me what is left for us when we've given up everything.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was
Did
getting
I
a better
just get a
deal because it's so
motherfucking
big.
ad?
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated
fuck?
cleaning ingredients.
Do I not
Pass
have
me the
premium?
intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide
Did he
Pods.
really just add
Pay for
me?
water. Pay for clean.
Where did my
If it's gotta
premium
be
go?
clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
You love listening to your favorite artists, and we love listening to you.
Nah, man. Spotify.
So let's talk. Click now to take part in our short survey,
I can't believe you
and
did
you
this
could
to
win a
me,
month
man.
of
You just
gloriously
ruined my whole
uninterrupted
vibe, man.
music. With Spotify
Where did my
Premium,
premium go?
that means you can enjoy all your favorite artists ad-free. Sound good? Then all you need to do is hit the banner now for your chance to win.
I'm gonna have to talk to Spotify after this. No way y'all just hit me with.
Thanks for calling Discover.
Nah, bruh. Spotify, you're done. You're done. You're done, bruh. You're done. You're done, bruh. I can't believe it, bruh. I really can't believe it, bruh. Can't believe it, bruh. Alright, let's get the move back right, bro. Let's get the move back right, bro. Let's get the move back right.
安っぽいクリシェで満たしてこのゲームから降りたふりであり少しで何が幸福理由もなくこの世界はあるし理由もなく僕らは避けるし理由もなく生まれ生きた印をどこかに置いていかなくちゃ吐き潰した靴の底のように進めばすり減る僕また同じよピンテーマが鳴る予定調和の今日が始まるそれでも続けよう誰のために真昼までループした日々をはみ出した証拠にもな科学予想期待を裏切ってしまえ誓いをここ
Yo, another day, man. Another day, another stream, man. Well, what are we at? 3 for 3? 3 for 3. You know, I couldn't miss the first day of May. You know, May is the birthday month, right? May's the birthday month. For people unaware, you know, later in the month, my birthday, you know, we don't got to talk about it too much. But I couldn't miss the first day of the month, right? So I had to lock in and get us a stream today. First day of the month. Big May, bro. May slept on, but May the start of summer. The summer's right around the corner, bruh. You know, for a person like me that lives in Texas, you know, like we love the summer, but we hate it at the same time. You know, I'm gonna be walking around for the next 3 months in fucking tank tops like this, because if I put on a shirt with anything more than this tank top, I'm gonna be sweating my ass off, bruh. So yeah, we love the summer over here, but we hate it at the same time. But you know, it has to come, you know. So you know, just gotta count the days, bro. Gotta count the days. Now, before we start talking about like anime vids to react to, I just want to show y'all what I seen on Twitter today, right? Now, this caught me by, I won't say it caught me by like a crazy surprise, but I will say it caught me by surprise, right? I didn't expect to see this amount of motion from this show. Like, I didn't expect to see this, right? So, look, we got top 10 female characters for the new season, right? Now, number 1 is Karumi. Now, Karumi got motion. Like, I know Karumi, like, Date Alive, yeah, everyone, you've probably heard of Karumi before. But, like, she got motion like this? Number 1? Like, Date Alive's on season 5. Niggas still watching Date Alive? Like, I thought, like, you know, it was a niche crowd nowadays. But number 1? Like, over Sophia, over Megumin, I was in disbelief. And then I'm scrolling through, and then I see this. I was like, oh, hell no, bruh. What? I couldn't believe it, bro. I couldn't believe it when I saw that shit, bro. I was fucking done. I couldn't believe it, bro. I couldn't believe it, bro. Like, it's like, it's not a surprise. A Data Life character. And then, like, on top of that, they're on there twice. Like, Data Life got a lot of girls, so. But on there twice, I mean, yeah, hey. Data Live got motion. They got motion that I wasn't expecting. Like, I was not expecting to see them have the amount of motion that they had, man. Like, it was surprising. But, hey, look, it's cool to see a Season 5 character still out here doing what they gotta do, bro. Hey, I'm happy for the Data Live motherfuckers. I'm happy for y'all. I'm not gonna lie. Congratulations. Wait, what the... I just saw something crazy on my recommend. I was gonna click on it, but then I remember I got a stream to do. All right. Without further ado, let's get into some of these reactions. I don't got much to talk about today. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I don't got shit to talk about. I can't even think of anything that happened today. Today was a boring day. All right, we got Windbreaker, the season's unexpected gem. Now, Windbreaker's nice. I'm happy to see a lot of people talking about Windbreaker. I'm happy to see that it's probably not going to be one of those shows that go under the radar. A lot of attention from it in the first couple episodes for this season.
Subscribe or bear the hatred of the Uchiha. Wake up to reality.
Welcome, Punch! What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Show, back with another video. Now, I normally don't do this, and this is kind of my fault. I should be doing this a lot more. But I want to talk about a new anime I've been watching. I normally don't watch ongoing anymore. I've gotten to the stage where, I watch a lot of mainstream and I don't kind of just go find my own stuff,
Oh, so you kind of like a normie nowadays? I mean, I never heard someone regress from like someone who watched a lot of stuff to someone who only watched mainstream stuff. So I never heard that before. I'm not gonna lie.
Busy times, you get older. It is what it is. You just don't watch as much anime anymore. But I want to say, I've been watching a couple of different anime. I watched the Kaiji number 8 because that was like mainstream. That was popping. It's popular, whatever, and I saw a couple of different anime on tab. I know that they have one manga called Dan or something like that, and I think I'm starting to read that, and I heard that was really, really good. But today we're here to talk about Windbreaker. Now, this anime actually, I saw this anime on like the little list. I guess it's popular, so it's probably still popular, still mainstream. But I want to talk about something that I decided to watch without really hearing anything about it. Now, this anime is special because this anime reminds me of another anime from way back in like the 2000s called Beelzebub. I haven't watched it in a really long time. Basically, from memory, the story of that anime is basically a delinquent going to a delinquent school, and he fights a lot of delinquent school people. I never heard this. This one is kind of different. In that one they had like powers and stuff, and it was like demon kings and all of that. It was a little bit more fantasy in it. This one is just straight fighting his hands. It's exaggerated school life. Basically Tokyo Revengers, but better. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I watch Tokyo Revengers, and I'm gonna take this little time to kind of talk bad about this anime real quick, just a little tangent. When I first watched Tokyo Revengers, I really loved it. I loved the premise. I didn't even mind that Takamichi was getting beat up every 5 seconds. I didn't even mind that he really couldn't fight, because realistically he couldn't fight. But honestly, as a main character, I started to hate him because just watching too many seasons and finally reading the manga, I started to hate his character. That's all I'm gonna say about Tokyo Revengers, but you gotta notice that these similarities kind of link up. Like, to me, Windbreaker is kind of a different match between two of these. Now one thing I do like about this particular anime is that the main character feels funny. I don't really know how to describe him. Like, I don't hate him. I'm not saying that he's like super in depth yet. It's only been like what 3 episodes.
You just think he cool because he throwing hands. You don't like nothing about him but the fact that he's throwing hands. I respect it. I'm not gonna lie. I respect it.
And obviously it's kind of more of the anime like Record of Ragnarok. If you ever see Record of Ragnarok, basically it's one big tournament arc, and that's how this anime feels. And it feels fun. I'm not gonna lie. It feels really fun to watch. It feels like I'm watching an old school anime with newer animation. just you get to see a lot of cool fights, interesting personalities. You have our main character Sakura, basically.
Bro, alright, I'm not gonna lie. Look, I'm gonna keep it a buck. This editing style, I don't know what's going on here, but this is just not the move. This is killing me. Why is half the screen black and white and half the screen colored? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Your mainstay delinquent, but I like the way they really portray his characters, because he has social issues, he has anxiety. You can kind of tell that he is known to be a delinquent, so of course that means that he's not really well liked in his community. He moves to a community in which delinquents like himself is the heroes, the heroes. So it makes sense. Obviously they kind of show a little bit of contrast with his character with that. I feel like I really want to read the manga.
You know what, like, random side note, I feel like the amount of YouTube anime videos where people just get behind a microphone and start talking has just been soaring recently. Like 2 months ago, I swear it wasn't this bad, but for some reason, like the last week or 2 weeks of videos that I've been watching have just been motherfuckers just yapping behind a microphone, which is fine. Like, I don't, it's okay for someone to rant every now and then, like I yap all the time. Like I just be talking about bullshit 90% of the time. But it's like, come on, bro. Like come on, man.
On this, because I think it stopped when I stopped. It was like right when they were about to do a big kind of like tournament style fight. Honestly, I don't know how deep this anime could go. I know I looked at the manga and it's got a couple manga pages. I'm not gonna lie, it's got a clear goal. The guy wants to be the head of the school, but I really like the way that this anime turned it on its head. Now, normally when you see an anime like this, it's mainly somebody that's joining a school. He wants to be number one at the school, and basically everybody in the school is his enemies. This one's a little bit different. You have this school in which they are guardians of the town. Basically, the town loves them. They're basically heroes. They are all kind of like delinquents from everywhere, and they're part of this organization that helps protect the town from different
I just like to say, like, I don't know if I want to say it's impressive, because I don't think so. I think, actually, it is impressive. I think it's impressive, right, for all these creators in the anime space to talk about an anime and 90% of them are only recapping the anime. Like, I feel like there's so many things that you could talk about for anime, why you like it, why you think that this is going to be an unexpected show in the future, but like you just want to recap the anime and tell us what it's about. I mean, like, I can find what it's about by clicking on the anime and reading the description for it. I can go to my anime list and click on the anime and they have a fucking what the anime is about. So I don't know why every YouTube video wants to tell you what the anime is about.
rival schools or different like gangsters, whatever the situation is. It's something like a group of misfits get together, become something greater than themselves. I really do like that concept. Our main character is not really with the whole idea of teams, but he's slowly kind of learning as he goes that this is more of a family. You know what I'm saying? These are people that are loved by the town. These are not just your random delinquents. And it's kind of like his aim is to be number one in the school, but in reality, they're all kind of teammates. So it's more of a us versus them mentality. Like I said, I really do like this anime. I think it has great potential. Obviously, the manga is pretty deep. I think it's like 200 chapters. So I either might get into that and read that. I don't really know for sure what direction I want to take with this. I really like the animated fights. Like they had a really cool fight scene in like episode 1. Animation looks really, really good. I don't know. This one came out of nowhere for me. I was really not expecting this. Obviously, I know some people who are big manga heads knew about this way before I did. I'm just hyped to be on the hype train right now. You know what I'm saying? I'll take that. I'm a bandwagon.
I respect it. I respect that. He said, I'm just happy to be on the hype train. I'm a bandwagon. Look, that's some W self-awareness right there. That's some W self-awareness.
I do hope this anime does is that I feel like a lot of anime where it's like a fighting or a tournament and stuff, it's cool considering like you normally in shows like that it's all about personalities. So you'll have like characters that have really cool personalities. Like in this particular anime, like the guy that's at the head of the school currently, he has a totally different personality than you think he would have, because he has control of a whole school of delinquents. You would think he'd be like a stern, military type, and the show kind of turns it on his head. He's like a fun, carefree kind of guy, and it's cool to see. You know what I'm saying? In a show like this, it's not really heavy on story. It's about fighting. It's about showing what these interesting personalities can do. You know what I'm saying? There's like all these different fighters from everywhere, like learning their backgrounds and how they fight, and so just having cool backstory. It's not necessarily heavy on story, and you can kind of understand that with like Record of Ragnarok. It's the same way. I think that I only watched one season of
I'm
that.
not gonna lie, we're 3 episodes in and saying that it's not heavy on story is kind of crazy. Like, of course it's not gonna feel like it's heavy on story. I mean, we're 3 episodes in, it hasn't even got us a chance to really show the story of the anime. Like, you're kind of summing it up to being something that it's like it's only a boxing anime, where in reality we've only seen like 2 fights. We've seen like 2 actual fights in 3 episodes. So I mean, like, we gotta let the anime like get a chance to see if we even get some story out of it. Maybe like 5 more episodes down the road, you can maybe say that it's more of a Record on Ragnarok type of anime. But right now, it's too early to say that. Like, we don't know where the story might go. There might be a twist next episode. Who knows? You can't say that early.
That show, and I actually did like it. I'm not gonna lie. I actually like Record of Ragnarok. When it came out on Netflix, I was surprised. I kind of like the aspect of the gods and stuff versus like humans. I really like the concept of it, but it's just one big tournament arc. I'm not saying it's bad. I really did like the first season, and the animation just wasn't there for me. But if you're gonna have an anime that is mainly about fighting, and you're just gonna be fighting a lot, it needs to have some kind of fluid animation. That's just me. It needs to be able to kind of keep me engaged. Like, I gotta have something to look forward to.
I mean, no duh, Sherlock. No duh. I mean, I feel like that doesn't need to be said. Like, an anime that wants to box every single episode, like, if it looks ugly, no one's gonna watch it. Like, it's common sense.
We get through with all the talking, we get through with all the build up. It's like a cool fight scene I can look at. Like I said, I'm only on episode 3 or 4. I don't know how far I actually went. I watched all the episodes that we had available. But I mean, I'll be honest, I'm excited, man. I'm kind of ready to get back into it. I want to really read the manga, really see where this is gonna go. I do recommend you guys check it out. I think it's only like 3-4 episodes at the moment, but definitely a good watch. I think it comes out every Thursday. Fun cast of characters. I will say this. Last thing before I end this video. Last thing. If you made it this far, man, I want to say I appreciate you. But I gotta say this. They have one character in here that I feel like is going to turn me off of this anime. Not necessarily, I'm not gonna stop watching it because of this character. But to me, he feels like it's Zenitsu. They have a kind of tropey character, like the guy that's basically you're around a whole bunch of team of.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, we gotta like. I understand disliking the character. Like, for example, I dislike Kobani, right? But in no universe will I ever say like Kobani is gonna turn me away from Chainsaw Man. One character being annoying to you in a show that has a lot of different characters with a lot of different things going on, like, bro, you can deal with it, bro. You can deal with it. You can
People
deal
that are
with
strong
it.
fighters, right? And you got the one guy that's like scared of everything. Like, he doesn't want to fight nobody. He tries to get the main character out of trouble. The main character's always with the smoke, but he wants to get the main character out of trouble. He's like trying to always run and stuff. He's basically a Zenitsu type, except for he doesn't have a cool side to him. Like, Zenitsu has the cool side. He can go to sleep.
I mean, you don't know that. You literally don't know if he has a cool side yet. This nigga, we're 3 episodes in. We just met the motherfucker. Like, you making claims that we don't know if it's true or not. Like, that ass.
And he's just like a badass. Yeah, this character is just kind of like wimpy. He's annoying throughout the whole couple of episodes I watched. And at first, it really didn't bother me. Like, I don't even mind Zenitsu, like, in his base form. Like, I don't mind him running around screaming and stuff. Because honestly, they're fighting like demons. But my guy is like freaking out because they're fighting like some other high schoolers. Like, it's ridiculous. Not gonna lie, the worst part of the anime for me. Definitely not enough to disturb your viewing experience, so definitely go watch it. Windbreaker. And with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys want to put me on any new anime, I would love to know.
All right, look, another video with just someone getting on here yapping. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. We're gonna see videos like this every day. All right, we got what happened to the Genshin Impact anime. Now, I'm actually interested to find out the answer to this because I remember I used to play Genshin Impact and I was playing the game when this announcement came out, and I saw Genshin Impact and I saw Ufotable, and I was like, oh, this hoe might be a banger. You hate this? LOL. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm pretty sure that's like very obvious. I just like I like to yap, but like I feel like when you're coming on to YouTube to make a video, like there's videos where you could yap about, but like videos like that where you're trying to get people to watch an anime, like bro, come with points that will make people interested in the anime. Like the dude's just talking randomly about things that don't really matter. Like, I mean, they matter, and then he's recapping. I mean, like, it's, it is what it is. I feel like a video where it's, like, more scripted and you can, like, create interest for people, like, is a better video. Like, for example, what I mean when I say this is I have a video on the channel where this guy made a video of Diamond of Ace, a baseball anime, right? I've heard of the anime before, but I've never watched it, right? And I watched the video, and he genuinely built interest without recapping the whole story. He talked about how the characters was. He talked about the story without recapping the story. Like, he did a beautiful job on getting you interested in an anime you never seen before. And I feel like more videos like that, when when I see a video like that trying to get people into anime, it's like I expect videos like that, for example. That's what I mean. But back to this. What happened to the Genshin Impact anime?
On the 16th of September 2022, Hoyoverse made the first announcement for the Genshin Impact anime. For most of the player base, including myself, this was a thing of dreams. Because let's be honest, a lot of us are dirty weeps. And to top it off, it was gonna be done with Ufotable, which is famously known for creating the Demon Slayer anime. Now you can criticize the story of Demon Slayer.
Pause. Look, like I don't know why. I don't know why I have like it, whenever I hear it, it just stings me the wrong way that like Ufotable is only known for Demon Slayer. Like, I just hate it because like some of their best work is on Fate, and they don't get no fucking attention from Fate. It's only from Demon Slayer, bro. I just hate it. But it's just a pet peeve, bro. It's just a pet peeve.
Slayer as much as you want, but I'm sure everyone with eyes can agree that the animations and fight scenes they created were absolutely incredible. Now everything was looking uphill for this project, except then it kinda just disappeared. We haven't had an official announcement of any kind from Hoyo about the anime, and it was starting to look reminiscent of the Genshin on the Switch announcement. I'm not gonna lie, the only time I ever tune into the Genshin live streams is just to cope that they'll drop a new teaser or any news about it. Now, while there isn't any official news about the anime, after looking into Ufotable and some questionable sources from Twitter, we can see that stuff is happening behind the scenes, and I'm almost certain that project definitely hasn't been abandoned. Now, the first thing I looked into was Ufotable's previous projects, to see if they usually take around this long for anime. Their most popular and recent project would be Demon Slayer, which was first announced in Weekly Shonen Jump on June 4th, 2018. The series then began airing on April 6, 2019, which is less than a year's wait. Now this isn't quite as long as the 18 months we've had since Genshin's first announcement.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, like, Demon Slayer is Ufotable's main project, right? Of course Ufotable wants to pick up something else, on the side, so it's not just Demon Slayer, but you're comparing a main project to something on the side that's not as important as Demon Slayer is to them. So, like, yes, it might have took them a year for Demon Slayer, but like, you can't expect that same thing for a side project. Most of their time is going to be on Demon Slayer, and then you got to think that Demon Slayer is just now coming out, so they've been working on it probably, a year. They've probably been working on Demon Slayer like a year out of the last 18 months at least.
At Fate, another big franchise done by Ufotable that is coincidentally also originally a game. Well, Fate Zero was approved for production in December 2010 and aired its first episode in October 2011, once again less than a year's wait.
See, it's like also not a good example because this is Ufotable when they didn't have a main project. this is Ufotable when they were picking up Fate, their main project. They're picking up a main project here. So, I mean, if they only have one project, of course, you know, their turnaround time is not going to be that long.
Then remembered another anime that took quite a long time between the first teaser and any other news, and that was Chainsaw Man. Now, Chainsaw Man is not by Ufotable, but the situation felt quite familiar. Chainsaw Man's first teaser was released in June 27th of 2021, and it was a similar style to Genshin's first teaser, just a showcase of some animation with no voice acting. The main trailer then released the following year in September, which makes the gap this time 14 months. A bit closer, but still shorter than Genshin. Now at this point I was a bit worried about the state of Genshin's anime, but the next two projects were super reassuring. In 2011, the creator of Fate, Type Moon, was looking to port Fate Stay Night to the PlayStation Vita. Animated cutscenes for this port were actually done by Ufotable, and during this process a deal was made between the two companies to create a full anime series of Fate Stay Night. And if you look at the date of the release date of the first in the series, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, October 12th, 2014, 3 years after the deal was made. Now obviously this isn't identical to the Genshin situation. Since the deal made in 2011, I'm unsure whether it was announced.
Things like this, right? Like things like this, for example, with Genshin Impact, it's like, and Demon Slayer, it's like, bro, let Ufotable cook, bro. Like, as long as it's not abandoned, as long as I know for a fact that it's still coming, let Ufotable cook, bro. Let them cook. If it take them 2 years, if it take them 3 years, if it take them 4 years, let them motherfuckers cook, bro. I don't care, bro. Let them cook. Let them cook.
To the public, but it definitely shows that Ufotable take longer for some anime. Now the final project I was able to find is probably the most similar and also a lot more recent. Witch of the Holy Night is another visual novel created by Type Moon, and in December of 2021, Aniplex announced that this game would be getting an anime film adaptation by, you guessed it, Ufotable. Now just like the Genshin situation, Ufotable and Type Moon went pretty much complete radio silence about the project. I even found some Reddit posts that are very similar to the ones posted in Genshin, questioning whether the anime would ever release and if it was just abandoned. Then out of nowhere, on literally New Year's Day of 2024, a new teaser trailer of Witch of the Holy Night was released. This would put it at pretty much exactly 2 years after the original trailer. Now this one gave me a lot more hope for Genshin's anime, as it's almost an identical situation and we definitely haven't reached the 2-year mark yet. Now obviously this doesn't mean Hoyo is going to release a new trailer at the 2-year mark exactly, but coincidentally the first trailer was actually released on the 2nd anniversary of Genshin's release. Now obviously 2 years after this day will once again be on Genshin's anniversary, and if you want to inhale some copium with me, I would not be surprised if they were preparing a big announcement like a full trailer for an anniversary stream. Now another reason why Hoyo might be holding or delaying the project is the actual content of the anime. There has been no announcement on what the actual anime will be about, only the teaser trailer, which is literally just Aether and Lumine and some landscape. Some people have speculated that it would be about the Archon War, or maybe the destruction of Khaenri'ah, and act as a precursor to the events in the game. And this is completely reasonable, as it would be very difficult to retell the story that we actually play through in the game. But what if that's what Hoyo actually wants to do? Now if we do follow our current path, this year we'll be going to Natlan, 2025 will be Snezhnaya, and then 2026 will either be Celestia or Khaenri'ah. If I were to predict, around 2026 to 2027 would be when the game's story actually ends. Now assuming Hoyo doesn't want the anime to catch up to the story in the game, this would mean a late 2025 release would actually be pretty reasonable. A first season to maybe take us to Sumeru or Inazuma, and then a second season 2 to 3 years later that would close out the story. This would give time for the game's story to finish and not have the anime take away from the game's experience. Now a 2025 release, especially if it was the middle to end of the year, would definitely not see a trailer be released early this year and definitely not last year. So if this is what Hoyo is actually trying to do, then it's completely understandable why we haven't heard
Like,
music.
I don't care what Hoyo's trying to do. As long as it's not abandoned, bro, I don't care. Look, I don't play Genshin Impact no more, but if they got Ufotable on the anime, I'm watching. It's that simple, bro.
This was a whole lot of speculation. Now finally, while looking around, there was actually some stuff that I found going on behind the scenes with the Genshin anime. Firstly, in June of 2023, during the China Film and Television Night, they actually announced Genshin in the new film recommendation section. Now, if this was clearly about the anime, this would be amazing, except I was unable to find anything solid stating whether this was actually about it or was just acknowledging the game of Genshin as general animation work. Now, this Twitter user that I'll keep anonymous in case they're actually leaking important information, stated that 3 producers of the project are already known. Now, obviously this could just be some random user, so of course this could be fake, but something else they also brought up was that on the official Ufotable website, there's a link for company inquiries about the Genshin anime. Now, obviously, if the anime was abandoned, this wouldn't exist at all. Also, on this page at the bottom of the screen, we can see that the license of the Genshin anime was actually updated last year. Now, this Twitter user claims that it was updated in August last year, and we can't really be sure about that, but it was definitely in 2023. So while there isn't anything official about the Genshin anime project, there is a lot of solid evidence that can prove that it still exists, and definitely isn't a case of the Genshin on the Switch again. If I were to predict when we would actually get a major announcement for it, I would have to say the 4th anniversary stream, which would be September this year. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe.
See, now that's a good video right there. Look, yeah, I got the information I was looking for. I mean, yeah, I mean, Ufotable tends to take their time, so as long as you know it's not abandoned, you know, it's not like radio silence. There's nothing where we have no type of idea what's going on. I think it's just like let Ufotable cook, bruh. Let Ufotable cook with that one. I'm not gonna lie, let them cook. You know, they got Demon Slayer to work on. They got Witch of the Moon, the Witch of the Full Moon to work on. Just let them cook, bruh. Let them cook. All right, I seen this video, and you know, as a Mushoku Tensei defender, I felt interested to see what was going on in this one. We got Frieren versus Mushoku Tensei.
Which anime is better, Frieren or Mushoku Tensei? I swear I'm not trying to stir up drama or anything. I'm actually making this video to satisfy my own curiosity because these two anime are surprisingly similar, yet...
Look, alright, I'm gonna keep this a buck, right? When I say this, I don't care what no one says, right? Mushoku Tensei will probably be top 10. Mushoku Tensei will probably be Mal top 10 if people didn't hate Rudeus so much. If Rudeus didn't have all that Sigma behind him, all the hate with all the niggas that want to stand on their moral high horses and complain about him and his character for, Mushoku Tensei would be top 10, bro.
I honestly don't know which one is better, so that's what we're about to fucking find out. Best protagonist. Rudeus and Frieren are both powerful mages who really like chess, but Mushoku Tensei is literally the story of Rudy's character development, so this category is almost not even fair.
Not even fair. You know what? I like you already. I like you already. He likes to keep it a buck. He likes to keep it a buck. I've been the strongest advocate for the character development of Rudeus and how a show has not even come close to the character development we see in Rudeus, bro. So I like to hear Mushoku Tensei only popular because people think getting laid is good. That's all there is to it. Macron, shut up, bro. Macron, please stop talking.
Flashbacks of Frieren from like 80 years ago, and she's literally the exact same character that she is now. So you can't tell me she gets more development than Rudeus, because while Rudy's out there improving himself and becoming a better person, Frieren is like barely even a person. Before you post that comment though, I know what you're thinking. At least Frieren isn't a pedo. That's a valid point, but then again, it's just fiction, and
dang, oh my goodness, I love this guy. Oh my goodness, I love this guy, bro. Someone that is not an actual dumbass motherfucker is making a video. Boy, I love it. I really love it, bro. Someone that can tell the difference between fiction and non-fiction, but I love when I come across a motherfucker like this, bro, because it seems like they don't exist anymore. It seems like these motherfuckers don't exist anymore in the anime community. I'm so glad to see that there's still people that got a brain on their head, bruh.
hasn't been confirmed yet, but if she did, then yeah, bro, she is 974 years older than him. That's a 2-figure age gap. That's like if you started dating a girl who hasn't even left her dad's balls yet. Regardless, it's undeniable that Frieren is significantly more welcoming than Mushoku Tensei. Some of you love Rudius, and some of you hate Rudius, but nobody hates Frieren, and for that, I think she deserves a point. However, I'm giving one to Rudius too, because while Frieren feels like a character, Rudy feels more like a person. And yeah, I'm using oranges to represent points because I know at least one of you is gonna say, you can't compare apples to oranges because they're different. Wrong. Oranges are better than apples. They have more vitamins, less calories, they smell better, the peel protects it from bugs, there's no cock-blocking core in the middle, the fruit comes in convenient bite-sized slices, and you don't even have to wash them. The orange is such a superior fruit that they even named the color after it, and nothing fucking rhymes with it either. This video isn't sponsored by oranges though. It's actually sponsored by AFK Arena.
Oh, sniped.
AFK Arena for sponsoring this video. Best fight scene. This category is not about which anime has better fight scenes, because that gets more into the territory of best animation, so this category is simply for one scene only. Out of all of Mushoku Tensei and all of Frieren, what was the best fight scene? I know what it is. You know what it is. I think we all know what it is. Frieren vs. Frieren was such an amazing fight because it exceeded our expectations even though they were extremely high to begin with. Since the first episode, Frieren has been built up as an extremely powerful mage who was so strong that she never needed to go all out, until her opponent was literally a clone of herself. This fight scene was so amazing because on paper it should have been impossible to make, yet somehow they did it justice anyway, and that's why Frieren deserves this award. I mean, orange. Best soundtrack. This is dead even, boys. I got both soundtracks on the same playlist.
Look. You know, music is a subjective thing, right? Music's a subjective thing. So I can't get mad at this. If you like both of them, you like both of them. But come on, bro. Come on, bro. Mushoku Tensei's OST is something. It's something special, boy. It's something special. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
And I love them equally. Mushoku Tensei's music is so fitting and nostalgic, but Frieren's music is literally Shire music from Lord of the Rings. So I don't know, guys. I guess if you threatened me with a dildo and forced me to choose a winner, I'd pick Frieren simply because Frieren music hasn't gotten me a copyright claim yet, but this category is way too close to choose a winner, so I'm giving both anime a participation trophy. Except it's not a trophy, it's just a orange. Best waifus. In case you didn't know, Frieren herself is not really a waifu. She might look like a waifu, but in reality she's more like a majestic creature that we should admire from afar. We don't fuck Frieren, boys. Our measly human dicks are unworthy of such beauty. Siri can get it, though. Some of you are super into fern, but I don't really understand that. Personally, I like it when a woman has a giant bush, so Sense is actually my favorite waifu, other than Ubel, obviously. Ubel might cut it off, but it's worth the risk because she's basically Elsa from ReZero except greener, which means she's better for the environment because she helps to cut down on carbon emissions. Ubel is so hot that due to the anime's lack of fan service, we've resorted to sexualizing random body parts like the armpit. Anyway, Frieren deserves 1 orange for putting up a decent fight, but Mushoku Tensei is leaving here with 2. I mean, aside from the 3 main girls, Mushoku Tensei also has Sarah, Nanahoshi, Nina, Rinia, Persena, Ariel, Silveril, Atofe, Roxy's mom, Elaine, Lilia, Rada, Ginger, Orsted, and Elenalise. That's just a few off the top of my head, but don't even get me started on Sylphie, Eris, and God forbid, Roxy. Best storytelling. This category is actually the reason I made this video because it's one of the things that makes these anime so similar.
Right. Look, I'm actually interested to hear that because, you know, I was talking to my friend the other day about what makes Frieren so special, and he said it's the storytelling, right? So it's interesting to hear a fan of both, and I should have asked him this because he likes both of them too, but what's the difference between Mushoku Tensei's storytelling and Frieren's storytelling? That's what I want to know.
Both Mushoku Tensei and Frieren are structured exactly the same. At their core, each is a slice of life anime, except with an occasional detour that may involve some fighting or drama, like how both series have an arc where the main character tries to go to magic school and somehow ends up clearing a dungeon. The advantage Frieren has in this category is the quality of storytelling you can find in the small details that don't really matter, like this old man who only appears in episode 16. His small isolated story about protecting the village for his late wife was better than the main story of most other anime. We probably won't ever see this guy again, yet I'll remember how beautiful and profound his story was. That's just one example, but every side quest in Frieren is just as good as that one. Mushoku Tensei differs in the sense that it does an amazing job tying every side quest together. For example, Rudy goes shopping for a new house, but it turns out the house is haunted, so he has to fight a ghost that ends up being a doll, which Rudy gives to the side character who's obsessed with dolls, which allows another side character who's a magic nerd to make an observation that resolves another side character's completely unrelated issue. Everything in Mushoku Tensei ties together like this, and it's just amazing watching the author weave different events together so effortlessly. The storytelling is my favorite part of both Frieren and Mushoku Tensei, so I'm giving 3 oranges to both anime.
Wow, that's
this time.
crazy,
Best
man.
animation. These anime look very similar in terms of animation and just in general too. I didn't even bother comparing sceneries and visuals because they're pretty much interchangeable in my opinion. A landscape from Frieren would look totally natural.
That's crazy, bro. I really, now I'm very curious. Now I wonder, like, I really want to know, for the people that got Frieren for 10s, the people that have Frieren as a 10, what they have Mushoku Tensei and why. Because now I'm genuinely, I want to know. I want to know what's the reason why Mushoku Tensei isn't a top 10 on my anime list. I'm very interested now. I gotta know. I gotta know.
If you saw it in Mushoku Tensei and vice versa. The animation is very similar as well, but Mushoku Tensei's Red Dragon looked better than the one in Frieren, and don't even get me started on Mushoku Tensei's bread. It cost them some bread to animate that bread. Frieren's fight scenes are generally a bit better than Mushoku Tensei's fight scenes, but Mushoku Tensei's fight scenes are usually melee oriented, and there's also a lot more of them. This is another category where both series are getting 2 oranges, except I'm gonna let Frieren take one from Mushoku Tensei because Frieren aired 28 episodes back to back without taking a break or lowering its quality standards. In fact, some of the last episodes of the season had the highest quality overall, and that's something I really admire. I hate it when studios decide to split a season in half because the hype always dies during the break and some people just forget about it entirely. So
you're blaming Mushoku Tensei for being seasonal? You're blaming oh my goodness, let's not do this. Come on, please, for the love of God. This gotta be the one thing that I dislike the most that you did in this whole video, right? I would have been better with you just saying that you believe Frieren got better animation. Don't say because Mushoku Tensei is longer and that it's seasonal and that Frieren did 28 episodes in a row is the reason why you're gonna give it an extra one or take one away. Like, that's not a good reason, bro. It's not a good reason. Mushoku Tensei is way longer than what Frieren is. Like, I'm glad that they went 28 episodes back to back to back and it was all great. But I mean, how are you gonna argue that with a show that's going on 3 seasons? Like, come on, bro. Like, and it's not even nowhere close to done. Mushoku Tensei is nowhere close to being over. You want it to be ongoing the whole time?
big respect to Frieren for accomplishing that. Best opening song. This is only worth 1 orange because it doesn't really matter, but Frieren's first opening was really good, and Mushoku...
Look, I'm not gonna lie, if Mushoku Tensei doesn't get best opening, like, I mean, look, the opening, like, they didn't really have an opening in Mushoku Tensei the first season, but we all know what the opening was. We all remember the song that was there, right? Banger. Season 2, same thing, but a banger. Season 3, don't even try to play me. Don't even motherfucking try to play me.
Tensei's new opening reminds me of an early 2000s anime. anime for some reason. However, Mushoku Tensei Season 1 had literally the best openings ever. They didn't break the immersion to play the same visuals we've seen 11 times already, but instead they animated new scenes for every episode so that the visuals were relevant to what was actually happening. I'm sorry, Frieren, but this is just a clear and obvious win for Mushoku Tensei. Best episode. I just watched episode 39 of Mushoku Tensei.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Look, at least for me, like Turning Point is one of the best. Turning Point is I don't know if it's Turning Point 1 or it's Turning Point 2, but we all know what Turning Point I'm talking about. That is a elite level episode. Now I know Frieren got elite episodes too, but I gotta know what Frieren episode, and I need to watch it and rewatch it a couple times so I can fully understand it's beating Turning Point, bro. I gotta know.
And thought it was one of the best in the entire series, but Turning Point 2 is probably a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah.
Roxy's backstory in episode 18 is also one of my personal favorites, but for me, number 1 is still episode 8. This is the episode that opened up the series for me and got me really excited.
Look, I'm gonna just tell you what it is, right? The show of Mushoku Tensei was very lighthearted, right? It was so lighthearted, you know. Nothing seemed to go wrong in Mushoku Tensei, right? Even though we had the mana disaster, that was kind of crazy. But you know, it was very like, you know, we felt like he was gonna reunite with his family sooner or later. It felt like the mana disaster wasn't the end of the world, right? It was just something Rudius had to go through. But then we got to Turning Point 2, and we learned that Rudius is not supposed to motherfucking be here, and there's someone that wants to make sure that he relays that to the motherfucker who put him here. So it was a fucking a shocker to see the show just flip how it did, right? And like, not a lot of anime can do a complete 180 like what Mushoku Tensei did. Like, I'm sorry, not a lot can.
To continue watching it. But I won't lie to you guys, Mushoku Tensei is not getting this orange. Episode 10 of Frieren was just one of the most conclusive and satisfying endings to an arc I've ever seen. Sometimes writers like to be pussies where they don't let the hero...
Oh, because she killed herself? Okay.
Kill the villain because they're afraid that the audience won't support the hero as much, but that wasn't a problem in Frieren. This episode was so good, and every time I rewatch it, I always get chills whenever Frieren unsuppresses her mana. Best characters. I was gonna do best world building, but that would have been another tie, so instead we're gonna close this video out with the one category where these anime differ completely.
You know what, there's some things like that, you know, that people that like Frieren say that, you know, just come to like a complete shock, right? Because Mushoku Tensei has elite world building. And if you want to argue that, please, we can argue it. But Mushoku Tensei has elite world building, right? And whenever I ask someone the best part of Frieren, it's not the world building, right? It's the character development. I mean, it's not the character, it's the storytelling. So if the storytelling is the same, like, this is just the things I'm getting. If the storytelling is the same as Mushoku Tensei, from what this guy says, and the same as if the storytelling is the same as Mushoku Tensei and the world building is the same as Mushoku Tensei, I need to know where is the gap in the ratings? Where is the gap in the rating between these two shows? I really need to know.
I hope you guys liked the video, by the way. It was a good fight, but this is GG.
Macron, you have no credibility. So you telling me that Mushoku doesn't have elite world building? We do not take you serious. Your credibility was gone 8 streams ago, buddy.
Frieren and Mushoku Tensei are very, very similar in terms of the world, the fantasy vibes, the slice of life structure, the music, and the brilliant animation. But the one category where they're different is characters. Frierin's characters are unfortunately the weakest part of the anime, and before you freak out, I'm not saying they're bad characters. In fact, they're pretty damn good. However, all the other parts of the anime are better. So although these two anime are very similar, the one advantage Mushoku Tensei has is its characters. The whole point of Mushoku Tensei is its characters, and every one of them changes and grows throughout the story. I remember how much I hated Eris.
I have more credibility than someone who glazes get laid anime trash. You saying that Mushoku Tensei is get laid anime trash is all I need to hear out of you. That's why you have no credibility, Macron.
At first, yet now I think she's the best written character in the whole series. Later this season, you guys will really start to appreciate Paul as a character, but I want to compare that to your first impression with him. Remember when he was a total piece of shit in the beginning, and then at some point we started to like him instead? I said this earlier about Rudius, but this applies to all the characters in the anime. They don't feel like characters, they feel like people, and that's what Mushoku Tensei does best. So with these final oranges, I officially declare Mushoku Tensei to be slightly better than Frieren. If anyone's upset about that, it's okay, because it's just oranges. It's not like Mushoku Tensei won anything of value. Frieren and Mushoku Tensei are about as similar as you can get, so that's why I think it's okay to compare them. But if you liked this video and you want to watch a similar one, I've also compared Mushoku Tensei to ReZero, although
Great video. Like, regardless, I think, as someone who hasn't even seen Frieren, I think Frieren is a great anime. From everything that I've heard about it and the few things that I've seen, it seems like a very complete anime, right? It seems like it does everything that you would want to see in an anime, and I respect it being number one. Now, the thing that I can't respect is the gap between Frieren and Mushoku Tensei. That's the thing that I am so curious about and that I cannot understand. Now, I like, honestly, if you think that, you know, that Frieren is a 9 or a 10 show, like, I understand that. But it's like, how does Mushoku Tensei get, like, is nowhere even close to the 9 rating? It's insane to me. I don't understand it, bro. But, you know, I think there's reasons for that. You know, I said it at the beginning of the video. People on their more high horses, you know, dragging Mushoku down with their dog water opinion. And that's just how I feel, you know. If that's just how I feel, whether you like it or not. But great video. Great video, though. Great video. All right. Another video that I've been interested to see and to get the opinion on here is the future of Dragon Ball Super. You know, with what happened with the Akira Toriyama and even the state of Dragon Ball Super already, I'm pretty sure everyone and their mother is curious what's gonna happen with Dragon Ball Super.
What is next for Dragon Ball Super? Akira Toriyama's death was a piece of news no one was ready for. 2024 was supposed to be the year for Dragon Ball fans, especially given that the 40th anniversary of the series was to be celebrated through releases such as Dragon Ball Daima and Sparking Zero. There were even plans for a whole new story arc within the Dragon Ball Super main storyline. But now everything has changed, and even though the main plans for the series seem to remain intact, it is pretty obvious that Akira Toriyama being gone will have a major impact on how the franchise works. So now it is definitely time to stop for a second and ask the following question. Where does Dragon Ball go next from here? Whether it was part of the transition between the superhero arc and the main events regarding the Dragon Ball storyline, or as a consequence to Toriyama-sensei's death, the fact remains that Dragon Ball Super is, as of right now, in an indefinite hiatus. This implies that we will not be getting a new chapter for the manga next month, but also that it will probably take several months for the series to get back on its feet. If we look back, the most recent hiatus for the Dragon Ball Super manga took place between the time that the Granola arc ended and the superhero prequel started. 4 months in total was the time that the Dragon Ball Super manga was put on hold. Should we use this as a reference to interpret how long this new hiatus will be? More or less. Obviously,
Probably
the
more.
4 months mark seems a plausible reference regarding the minimum time we won't be getting new content for the Dragon Ball Super manga. Of course, they they might surprise us and get back in action before that 4-month mark. But considering that we are dealing not only with the transition to a whole new arc, but also Akira Toriyama's death, it certainly looks like they will not be rushing anything at all. We also have to consider that when Dragon Ball Super took that 4-month break, the superhero arc had already been done in the movie version. Even if the Dragon Ball Super manga changed and expanded on some things, the challenge of creating the superhero manga version was nothing similar to creating the Moro or Granola story arcs. Therefore, considering that we were about to see the beginning of a whole new story arc, it wouldn't be crazy to say that a long break was planned beforehand. In the end, the transition began right at the same time that Akira Toriyama died, so it is hard to say how much that piece of news affected the schedule of the Dragon Ball Super manga, but still a long absence had most likely been already decided. Also, with Dragon Ball Daima premiering during the fall of 2024, the Dragon Ball Super manga could push for a kind of really long break since the Dragon Ball franchise will still have a series with regular content on air, even if it is an anime format. The thing is that Daima will now be even more relevant than it was probably originally envisioned. The reason being that Toriyama became more and more involved in time with the project, to the point that Daima is now a Toriyama vision, much like many other creations of his past. There are many manga series that go on hiatus for really long periods of time and for many different reasons. Let's not forget that it took 20 whole years for Dragon Ball Super to happen after Dragon Ball Z ended back in 1995. Yes, Dragon Ball GT happened eventually, and due to Akio Ioku's decision making, it seems likely that even if Dragon Ball Super manga took years to come back, something that shouldn't happen unless things really fell apart for Toyotaro and others involved with the manga, we would still get content in the form of video games and anime movies or even series. A manga franchise that recently suffered a similar situation to that of Akira Toriyama's death is Berserk. The manga by the late Kentaro Miura, considered one of the best dark fantasy tales and a massive influence for video games such as Elden Ring, was left at a loss when Miura died not so long ago. As a result, it took about a whole year for the family and the people in charge of the distribution of Berserk to decide what would happen with it, and yes, cancellation was even a possibility. In the end though, it was decided that Koji Muri, a friend to Miura sensei and a professional mangaka as well as Studio Gaga, the team Kentaro Miura worked with to bring Berserk to life would be the ones in charge of keeping Berserk alive. In a way, a similar scenario could probably be decided with Toyotaro and Bird Studio, the studio Toriyama created a few decades ago after his initial success as a mangaka, and the workplace that has remained relevant to him since then. Dragon Ball certainly has the foundation to keep the franchise alive from the manga side of things. There's a natural heir in Toyotaro that has been working for years with Toriyama. And then there's Bird Studio, and also the people involved in the Dragon Ball room right before Akio Ioku shook things up a few months ago. Dragon Ball stopped being a one-man thing the moment it became one of the biggest hits ever within the entertainment industry. Yes, there may be difficulties and probably a lot of internal discussion, but Dragon Ball is nowadays a massive franchise that makes a lot of money each and every year. So even those that are afraid of a possible abrupt ending for Dragon Ball Super should remain calm.
Yeah,
Dragon
that's
Ball
not
as a whole
happening,
is
bro.
not going anywhere.
It's not
The
going
planification
nowhere. That motherfucker's not going nowhere, boy. They're gonna milk Dragon Ball Super for every dime that they can. Dragon Ball in general, they're gonna milk the fuck out that motherfucker. It's not going nowhere.
When the Dragon Ball Super manga will come back is one thing on its own, but the content itself is a whole different beast. What were Toyotaro and Toriyama plotting right before the death of the Dragon Ball creator? We still don't know, but it seems like a safe bet to say that it was somehow related to Black Frieza. It's been quite a long time since Black Frieza was introduced as a transformation that had enough power to deal with both UI Goku and UI Vegeta, and since then the tyrant has gone completely silent. What has he been doing for 2 whole years? Why do Goku and Vegeta seem kind of at ease while knowing he is out there and could strike at any given moment? Last we heard of Black Frieza, we were told that the villain had achieved a power level that put him really close to that of a god of destruction. It seems logical to think that the very reason that Gohan, Piccolo, and Broly managed to unlock and control new transformations was because they would have to deal with the most powerful enemy they had ever crossed paths with. Nevertheless, the ending of the chapter 103 in the Dragon Ball Super manga shows the Earth at peace, and with Goku, Gohan, and so on not really worried about any upcoming menace. Has something happened to Black Frieza we have not been made aware of yet? If not, the situation remains kinda confusing until further notice. There is also the Dragon Ball Daima premiere, and the fact that despite many theories and speculation, we also don't really know when it will happen within the Dragon Ball timeline. Will Dragon Ball Daima have some sort of effect in the current state of affairs, or will it be a story with no impact whatsoever in the grand scheme of things? It could go either way at this point. Regarding the Dragon Ball timeline, we mustn't ignore the fact that Dragon Ball Super superhero events were really close to what we know as the end of Dragon Dragon Ball Z. This may be the reason as to why Chapter 103 gave off that very peaceful vibe in spite of Black Frieza lurking around. But still, what back in the day looked really like an ending for Dragon Ball Z feels kind of out of place nowadays. Dragon Ball Super expanded on so many things when thinking of the old days, from power levels to the existence of a notable amount of universes, to the influence of the angels and the gods of destruction. Dragon Ball Super itself feels like a completely new universe when compared to Dragon Ball Z. Even if Dragon Ball Super takes place within the time frame of DBZ itself, everything Dragon Ball Super introduced throughout the years seemed to push away that peaceful final saga for DBZ, so much so that it looked possible for the new era of DB Super to change the story as we once knew it. To what extent is something entirely unknown, but the fact remains that the echoes of the Dragon Ball Super narrative are big enough to make it possible to alter what was once written on paper. Even if the end of DBZ had remained the same, the reality of it is that we were bound to push beyond those story limits for the very first time, or at least for the very first time with Akira Toriyama being actively involved in the creative process. Dragon Ball GT was a nice effort from Toei Animation, but the fact that Akira Toriyama had a secondary role in it was something that definitely had an impact in how the story was produced and received. Other than that, it is impossible not to wonder what Akira Toriyama had in mind when he introduced as many universes as he did in the beginning of Dragon Ball Super. The way he shaped the world of Dragon Ball back then completely destroyed almost every and any preconception we had about it. There were no limits, and the Tournament of Power worked as proof that there were a lot of powerful warriors elsewhere, new races, and even more Saiyans. Dragon Ball still possesses all that potential to explore new storylines, but the fact that such an expansion will unfold without the supervision of Akira Toriyama himself is certainly a sad conclusion. From what we had been told previously, it was Akira Toriyama himself who still decided the major story beats for Dragon Ball. The creator would provide a set of major events to happen in the story, and then both Toyotaro and Toei Animation had some free reign while deciding how those would eventually come to be. However, now that Toriyama Sensei is gone, it is finally time for someone to take over the Dragon Ball world, and that someone should definitely be Toyotaro. Although he has been working mostly as the main Dragon Ball Super illustrator, little by little Toyotaro managed to gain some influence regarding Dragon Ball story development and character creation. He most recently came up with the prequel for the Dragon Ball Super superhero arc, although with corrections coming from Akira Toriyama. Another major contribution from Toyotaro was Granola's final design, but he will obviously be forced to do much more story-wise from now on. There's also the possibility that other individuals such as Akio Ioku or even Victory Uchida could take a step forward and lighten the load for Toyotaro, helping him steer the story of Dragon Ball Super towards something Akira Toriyama could have come up with himself. There's obviously no way to completely emulate Toriyama Sensei's thought process when it comes to the Dragon Ball Super main storyline, but Toyotaro would do well to look for as much help as he can get, at least in the beginning of this new era. The reality of Toyotaro as a mangaka is that we still don't know his identity as one. Working alongside Akira Toriyama surely honed him in the ways of creating manga, but there's a big stretch from what he was.
We don't know what he can do. We don't know if he can tell a story like that. Okay.
Doing to what he will be asked to do. The main question right now for him is if he will take on the challenge of creating both the illustrations as well as the main story, because as much as others like Uchida-san or Ioku-san could intervene, they are no mangaka themselves. So could a new manga creator intervene in this time of need? The Toyotaro-Toriyama duo is certainly not the first one to exist in the world of manga. Yes, there may be some creators like Yoshihiro Togashi from the Hunter x Hunter series that prefer to do most, if not all of the work by themselves as hard as it gets. But there's others like Aka Akasaka from Kaguya-sama Love is War who understand just how tiresome it is to create manga, and so they end up deciding to split the work between art and storytelling. Akira Toriyama himself was more the latter rather than the former, and that's exactly how Toyotaro came into the spotlight eventually. The manga industry is a tough one, and weekly schedules are especially harsh with the creator, even if they are also the most rewarding ones when it comes to the popularity and success. If Dragon Ball Super was decided to be a monthly publication, it was probably due to a number of factors, and health was most likely one of them. Thinking of another popular Shonen Jump manga, Rui Dragon is one of the most recent hits at Shueisha, and it really didn't last long before Masaki Shindo, its creator, collapsed. It took a really long time for Shindo Sensei to recover and be able to start working yet again in Rui Dragon, but it was eventually decided that his comeback would be with a chapter every 2 weeks, instead of the craziness that it is to pump chapters weekly, even if they are obviously much shorter than monthly ones. Whether Toyotaro decides to do everything by himself now that he is in good health, or ends up trusting in another manga creator to help in keeping Toriyama Sensei's legacy alive, won't change the fact that he now has more power in the decision-making department than ever before. There's so much we don't know about Dragon Ball and the future of Dragon Ball Super at this point that the only thing to do is speculate about all the what-ifs and that may eventually come to be. Even if Toriyama Sensei was not in charge to greenlight and coordinate every little thing about the Dragon Ball franchise in this day and age, he most likely was the one to still decide on the most important stuff. In recent years, it was obvious that Akio Ioku, especially after the creation of Capsule Corporation Tokyo, had gained a lot of influence regarding the creation of content such as video games or anime movies from Dragon Ball. In that sense, it seems pretty obvious that Akira Toriyama himself was not someone really interested in the business side of things, but rather in content creation. Still, the new age of Dragon Ball will have to work even harder now in order to establish a new order of things. Before the passing of Akira Toriyama, but still in this very 2024, Ioku-san stated that they were preparing Dragon Ball content for at least the next 10 years.
Damn.
Again, given that Ioku-san had taken on the challenge of creating Capsule Corporation Tokyo to speed up the creation of Dragon Ball video games and anime, it is hard to tell whether he was also talking about the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole or only his side of things. Also, we obviously don't know if things remain the same after the death of the creator of Dragon Ball. But again, Dragon Ball itself has grown so much over the years that a lot of stuff started to grow from it even without Toriyama-sensei being directly involved with much of it. In the end, we don't know the whens, the hows, nor the whos, but what is for certain is that Dragon Ball now needs time. Time both to heal and to make sure that the franchise can properly move forward even in the absence of Akira Toriyama. It will not be easy, and there will likely be a miss here or there, but if we all push forward for Dragon Ball to keep going forward, we will also help to make sure that Toriyama-sensei remains with us in each and every step of the way.
Wow, well, hey, you know, we know it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We know it's not gonna go anywhere anytime soon. There's gonna be at least, like, I wouldn't have expected to be 10 years, but we know now that there's gonna be at least 10 years of content ahead of us. I think, you know, they might milk it as much as they can. Dragon Ball probably won't be going anywhere anytime soon, even after the death. So, you know, we're probably going to be in for more decades of Dragon Ball. So we'll see. It's like Dragon Ball is like, you know, how Yu-Gi-Oh is, and how like Pokemon is. It's like they're just never ending. Like when one series ends, they just make another one. And they just make another one, and they just make another one, because there's so much money to be made by the name of it that it would make sense not to just keep going. So there's probably going to be a lot more, way more. So we're going to see what the future of Dragon Ball. All right, next up we got, why do most anime feel the same?
You ever heard about the blue sky problem? Basically, sometime like a year ago, people were critiquing the anime adaptation of My Hero Academia for always having a bright blue sky in the background, no matter what the tone and content of the scene was. I'm like, yeah, these scenes take place during the day, but in art and filmmaking, color is a useful tone indicator, and sometimes the blue fucking sucks for that. So why did this happen? The source material stylized the scene, but the anime traded that to be more visually consistent with itself, which makes sense, but to me is a little disappointing, because it seems like a lot of anime adaptations are only distinctive through the mangaka's art style, and hardly ever through the filmmaking. So my question is, why are there so few auteur anime TV directors? And my thesis is that the anime industry just isn't conducive to an auteur lens, mostly. Let's break this down a little bit. For starters, what is an auteur? Simply put, an auteur is an artist with a unique and distinctive style to their work. And in this case, I'm going to be talking about auteurs in film specifically. Now, there's some contention over the actual definition of auteur filmmakers, but shut up. If they have a recognizable style, I'm going to count them. Now, for all my anime and manga readers out there, I want you to do a quick mental exercise for me. Can you tell me who wrote these manga? Okay, maybe.
Okay, he didn't even give me a fucking chance.
You got some of those right. Now can you tell me who directed these episodes of these anime?
Yeah, no one can do that, man. Like, come on. No, I'm not gonna say no one. Some people can't do that, but, like, you know, directors don't get the same amount of credit as a mangaka, you know, does.
I'll give you like 3 seconds. Okay, if you got more than one of those answers right, you're a fucking psychopath. The point I'm getting at here is that there aren't very many recognizable names working from the director's chair in anime. Movies are a different story, but for
No, I don't think it's a different story, because I can't tell you any directors from a movie either.
Recognizable names working from the director's chair in anime. Movies are...
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell, except for Miyazaki, only because that's the biggest motherfucker in anime movies. But any other movie, but I could not tell you who directed that motherfucker.
Different story, but for TV, you'll never see a big name attached to a multi-season show. So why is this? Well, for starters, and as a lot of you might know, the anime industry can be kind of brutal, and it is standard practice to give each episode of a seasonal show to a different director. And to be fair, most Western television follows that model as well. However, there are more examples of auteur directors working in Western TV than in anime. For example, Rian Johnson, director of these movies, did two of the most famous episodes of Breaking Bad, Ozymandias and Fly, and I would argue that these two episodes stand out from a filmmaking perspective. There are other examples like David Fincher with Mindhunter and Love, Death, Robots, Steven Spielberg on Columbo, Tarantino for CSI, or even Robert Rodriguez on The Mandalorian. It's also interesting when auteur filmmakers are given the rights to pre-existing IPs, like Sam Raimi with Spider-Man or David Lynch with Dune. Even if these movies or shows aren't always well received, I would say they are at least always interesting. And I personally like it when someone with a unique vision handles these projects. Now, Japan...
Hey, and that's just your opinion. I would rather something be good than something be interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to watch some interesting dog water.
Has its fair share
That's
of
just
famous
me,
film
though.
directors, both in live action and animation. All things considered, they got a pretty good lineup over there. But these dudes are not working on shows. Sadly, that's just because television is a tough medium to work with for film directors. In TV, the director of an episode has to make sure they fit the runtime and follow the script to a T while the showrunner calls all the shots and gets final say. That's why people say that film is a director's medium while TV is a writer's medium. And since anime is TV, we'll probably never get to see one of those visionary directors working on popular seasonal shows. And to me, that's a little disappointing, because I'm sure a lot of these popular franchises could have some really cool episodes if they were adapted by these guys. And it's too bad that will never happen. Ever. Wait, it kinda has happened? What the fuck? In 2005, Mamoru Hosoda, acclaimed director of Summer Wars, Mirai, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, and these movies, was hired to direct a spin-off film for the famous, long-running series One Piece. See, back in the early 2000s, they were pumping out these One Piece movies annually, and they were fucking ass. But then Hosoda comes along, and he makes the craziest, most outside-of-the-box entry in the series that I don't even think Oda would make. Everything about it was different. The art style, the animation, the story, and the tone. And not only was it sick as fuck, but it also directly influenced some of the most iconic moments in the main series. Like the score during that famous scene in Eni's lobby, or how the Saboti punch originally comes from this film. And to stay on the topic of One Piece, some of the best episodes of that show are handled by more visionary directors, like Megumi Ishitani with episode 1015, if you know, you know. This, I think, is an argument for allowing auteur filmmakers to be handed the reins to more popular anime adaptations, because every time they do it, it's cool, and the influences it has on the source material are palpable. Hayao Miyazaki's Castle of Cagliostro is arguably the best loop in the third movie. Masaki Yuasa's Devilman Crybaby is the most famous adaptation of that story, and Mamoru Oshii's Lum Invaders still stands out compared to that IP's other movies. Giving big IPs to auteur filmmakers is always cool, and I think seasonal anime would be really cool in the hands of these cool movie people. So what is this all to say? I don't know. I think it would be funny if Miyazaki did a JJK episode. I think it's a bad idea, but it would be funny. Just go watch this movie, okay? Please give me an A. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's a macron level opinion right there. You know. All right, the fast anime meta.
You know, for me being gone for 5 months, for a while I was a bit down in a way. Not depressed, but
demotivated.
aimless. There were a lot of shows I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Hell's Paradise, Marshall, Bleach, not that many actually. I recommend this one though. It has
So yeah, I'm a man.
lesbians. was eye-opening. Stepping back from working 24/7 to taking the present a bit more. Friends, family, going back to other hobbies, and a lot of internal work in those 5 months. What it meant to me, making videos, if I wanted to continue, going to university. Wow, I was honestly addicted to making content. And it's because I love it a lot. It's fun. It's what it came down to. I want to do it as long as I can, really. But that wasn't the only conclusion I came to. I thought about why, what the videos meant to me, what drove me to share shows or manga I thought others would enjoy. And I had one of those moments where everything just clicked. Anime right now fucking sucks. Okay, that's a bad way of putting it. The current culture of anime sucks. In technicality, we're in the golden years. Easy. It was almost coordinated, the way it all played out. Anime broke out globally in popularity 5 years ago, and within those 5 years, it's been hit after hit after hit after hit after another hit.
Bro, you just come on, bro. Like it's hard for me to take your opinion serious when you say hit after hit after hit, and then you show these anime.
5 years ago, and within those 5 years, it's been hit after hit after hit after hit after another hit. Mappa, Wit, Ufotable, Studio Trigger, Bones, A1 Pictures, even though they kind of fell off. Even Toei's been putting up some really good stuff actually. Right now anime is in abundance, riding on a curve that's only getting steeper, which is a good thing if you can't read graphs. I'm not complaining about any of that necessarily, it's just that both the community and the studios are getting a bit drunk. Okay, really drunk. Really drunk off this overnight success. 5 years might sound like a lot, but it's all relative. Think about it. Mappa's at the.
What the fuck are you talking about? I tried, but I was like, you know what? Let me be quiet. Let me be quiet and try to understand what this motherfucker's talking about. But what in the Lord are you talking about right now, bro? What are we talking about, please?
The forefront leading this new phase anime's in. 2020 going forward is really when they popped off. So let's go over what shows they produced in 3, almost 4 years. Uchitama, Doro Hidoro, Listeners, God of High School, Mr. Love, The Gym Samurai, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan The Final, Zombie Remain, The Daten Deities, Talk Destiny, Attack on Titan The Final Part 2, Don Shore, Chainsaw Man, Vinland Saga, Isekai No One Cares About, Attack on Titan The Season. Or I'm gonna exclude continuing seasons, cause yeah, Hell's Paradise, and a bunch of other stuff they have lined up. Mappa is, or was, a relatively small studio. It's also young, only 11 years old. Studio Trigger is also 11 years. These are the anime they've made since 2020. BNA, Dyna Xenon, I think. Edge Runners. They also featured in that Star Wars anime for an episode. So like 1/12 of a show. Mappa is producing at a rate that is reshaping the comp for other studios. Before, everyone sort of just coexisted. The space wasn't really ever hyper competitive, but ever since Mappa started doing shows back to back to back to back to back, it put on pressure for everyone else to keep up. So other studios also started producing back to back to back to back to back. and it isn't sustainable.
Bro, oh my goodness. Motherfuckers really get on the internet and just start rambling, bro. I swear for the love of God. Jesus, Lord, please. How do you do this? You literally name Mappa, right? And then you name 24 different shows Mappa has worked on in 3 years. And then the next studio that you bring up was Trigger, and you name 5 different animes. How do you not see the difference there? Mappa is the only one doing what they're doing. Do we hear any other studio going through the stuff that Mappa's going through? People saying that they never want to work at Mappa again. The crazy schedules, how abusive they were. We don't hear any other studio getting that amount of press and that amount of attention for what they did, because it's not happening. It's not happening. You're creating something that is literally only a single studio. Mappa is the only studio doing this shit, bro. Every other studio takes their motherfucking time. And let it be, bro. Let it be. It is what it is, bro. No one is competing with Mappa. They're letting Mappa do what they do. Mappa have high IPs. That's not affecting the money that they're making. If they take their time and make a great anime, they're going to make money. They're not worried about Mappa.
The reason a show took a year or 2 years to continue is because studios, or just like anyone else, studios can also burn out. I mean, unless you upscale. Bigger audience, more money, more animators, more anime. Mappa is the most successful studio ever, or at least projected to be. The resources available to them is
Mappa is not the most successful anime studio. They're one of the most popular right now. In the last 3-4 years, maybe, yes, but for anime as a whole, Mappa is not the most successful anime studio, buddy. No.
At the level of studios with a generational type status. A lot of people bring up the ethics around it, about animators getting overworked, underpaid, not really valued all too much. But to spin it in a different perspective, I think it also brings as much, probably more honestly, good than bad in the industry. I don't know really anything about the animating industry, but I've noticed a lot of independent animators within the last 2-ish years being able to bounce into careers working with these studios. Imagine making a fan animation for an anime you like, and then a little while later, you get an email from the studio that made that show telling you they want you on the project. That's a wet dream for anyone, and I've seen it happen like 3 times within this year on YouTube specifically. A lot of opportunities are being made in the anime industry with it upscaling. I couldn't tell you if they're getting good pay or good treatment or anything like that, but I can say they're getting a backdoor entry to an industry that's inherently hard to break into. None of us really know
what are we rambling about right now? I'm trying to figure out the point of this video. I really am, bro. I'm really trying to figure out the point of this one, because I mean, we're not really saying much here. I mean, you're just talking about studios and like Mappa and like, what's the point of this video is what I'm really trying to understand here.
Behind the scenes, but the overworking thing at least is probably overblown. I think so, at least. Maybe a couple of studios are like that, probably, but logically it doesn't really add up with well, I'm not going to speak for everybody. What I know, more shows are being made faster, more people are coming in to animate the shows. None of the animators with platforms seem to have anything bad to say at the studios they work for. It could be stressful. It probably is stressful. There could be pressure involved, and animating is naturally a time-consuming thing. But that's different to being a work slave, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I can't speak for anyone, but I can imagine it being some of the most fulfilling work for a lot of people. You don't just land a job animating. The same people who get paid to animate professionally are the ones in school who would draw in between classes. And as you went up grades with them, you saw their art get really good. So, why I think it's bad? I haven't mentioned anything bad about the way things are developing.
No, so why don't you tell me what the point of this video is? Please, for the love of God. I don't know where the fuck you're going, boy. There's a dartboard, and you're hitting everything else but the bullseye. You are literally hitting every single number on the dartboard right now, but the one spot that's gonna get you somewhere. Please, for the love of God, tell me what's going on. I really gotta understand. I'm really trying to understand. I'm really trying to understand it.
Points that would make sense to point out to support myself, I defended, because I don't think there is anything bad right now. What I think is bad is the direction everything is going. With more anime produced at a higher rate, yeah, there's gonna be a lot more good shows being produced, but also a lot more terrible, not good, bad shows. If we're excluding originals, which aren't really common at all, manga and light novels and all else are limited. For every Jujutsu Kaisen, you're getting 5 The Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy. Not every draw is gonna be a winner, but with studios focusing more on keeping up with the current pace of anime, their focus is slowly going from curating material to be good to just getting anything out there. It's not so much the pace that's bad, but with the mindset that comes with it, if you aren't prepared. The studios that aren't paying mind, like Trigger for example, will keep producing good anime at their own pace, but the ones getting swept up by MAPPA's production rate are gonna ruin themselves. Bug Films got a really early break with their first show, and they deserve it. You can tell they really care about what they're putting out, but if they get drunk off the success and start thinking, oh, we should do this, we should do that, we should put out this, we should put out that.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. That every day, every single day I get on YouTube, and it really makes me want to just start dropping videos where I just talk about nothing all day, bro. Like Lord, I'm gonna tell you what this video was about so far. This video was about, at the beginning, him being discouraged to get back on YouTube. You know, he finally came back. You know, him really wanted to talk about a lot of animes, but you know, none of them really stood out. And then he finally got into the video where he talked about there are studios like MAPPA producing 25 animes a season and how that's gonna hurt the industry. But then doesn't talk about if there's any other studios doing what MAPPA is. And then now he's talking about at the end, then he starts talking about, well, I don't know if MAPPA is really affecting the industry or not. I don't really think it's a bad thing. But if anyone gets caught up with what MAPPA is doing, it's going to affect the industry. Like, what are we talking about right now, bro? You haven't said a singular thing.
And get caught up in the anime culture, the fast anime culture, they won't get any room to flesh out. It's the brew before the storm, or I got that wrong, I think. Yeah, true. Kagurabachi, it got leaked, hyped, dropped early, and people gave it so much irony, they started to actually get into it. Shout out to this guy for breaking out the Matrix, but I'm still gonna glaze a little bit. I like it. It's the type of manga you read that's cool, but you forget about it like 2 hours after reading it. Also, it's like 3 manga in one, and not in a good way. But it's a 3-in-1 that prints money, so no disrespect to the manga, but that's exactly the type of material that gets encouraged currently. Anime, or in this context, manga, that will feel enough. I think that's the current meta. It's disposable content.
Oh my god. Then this guy uses the one manga. He uses the one manga to try to prove a point. There has literally been no other manga like Kagurabachi to ever come out. That to have the overnight success that Kagurabachi had, there has literally not been any other manga to do anything like that. You're using that one specific manga to write this point that niggas just want to print money. Like, if anyone else did what the creator of Kagurabachi did, they wouldn't have made no money, bro. It was just a meme that worked. That's all Kagurabachi was. It was a meme that worked. Will we ever see another one like it? Probably not. Probably never again.
Not sustainable. I've seen a lot of shows this past year, and I would still say most of them are good. At least not bad. But genuinely, I can't recall most of them. Or maybe so I'm just saying it's great that anime is on a upward trend. But just maybe slow down. Maybe just a little bit. Because eventually it's all gonna catch up to everyone actually involved. The studios, the audience, and potentially authors. Whatever consequence there is for pushing quantity over quality, it's coming. So just slow down so you can look at what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is a video dedicated to a singular studio. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this video was dedicated to Studio Mappa in itself. I mean, this isn't a meta. It's not a meta. I don't know like what we're talking about. Studio Mappa just has high IP anime, and it's been successful for them. But not every studio is going to be able to get some of the most popular manga to ever come out in like, you know, fucking JJK was a popular manga, and Mappa just sniped 3 popular manga, and they got them bitches out quick than a motherfucker. There probably will never be another studio that attempts to do what Studio Mappa did. Did it work for Studio Mappa? Absolutely. But that's not something that every studio can do, bruh. It's not something every studio could do. It isn't. It isn't. I'm not going to lie. So let's not act like that's the meta, because it's not a meta. It's just what works for a singular studio. Deadass. It's not a meta. I'm not going to lie. I got to use the bathroom real quick, so I'm going to leave you guys with... What do I want to leave you guys with real quick? Hope this is on my feed. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Right back.
My lover's got humor. She's the giggle at a funeral. Knows everybody's disapproval. I should have worshipped her sooner. If the heavens ever did speak, she's the last true mouthpiece. Every Sunday's getting more bleak. Fresh poison each week. We were born sick, you heard them say it. My church offers no absolutes. She tells me worship in the bedroom. The only heaven I'll be sent to is when I'm alone with you. I was born sick, but I love it. Command me to be well. Amen. 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 Take me to church, I worship like a dog at the shrine of your light. I'll tell you my sins and you can sharpen your knife. Offer me that deathless death, the good God, let me give you my life. Take me to church, I
Good A and B. Looks solid. Looks alright. Looks alright. What anime is this? Macron. Yeah, I can't take you serious. I cannot take you serious. Oh my goodness. You don't even know what anime that is? Lord God, bro. Macron, you need help. You need help, Macron. I'm not gonna lie to you. You need some help. You need some help in your life. You need some help in your life. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, we got the episode that changed Mushoku Tensei forever. He's likely talking about Turning Point 2.
It's the biggest isekai anime of this decade, thanks to its well-written characters, peak world building, and insane storytelling.
Goodness.
With the airing of...
Oh my goodness, let me run it back. Let me run it back for this brain rot guy in my chat.
Mushoku Tensei is the biggest isekai anime of this decade, thanks to its well-written characters, peak world building, and insane storytelling.
Man, one more time. Just one more time. Just...
Mushoku Tensei is the biggest isekai anime of this decade, thanks to its well-written characters, peak world building, and insane storytelling. With the airing of Season 2 Part 2, it just had one of the most liked episodes in quite a long time, which made me think, what is the best episode of Mushoku Tensei? Which one had the most impact? Is it the episode where Rudy and Eris were transported to the Demon Continent and saved by the infamous Support? Or the episode where Paul and Rudy were able to talk through their differences and reunite as a family? Well, in my opinion, it's this one. Starting out with happiness and relief, to the absolute shock of not just getting attacked, but dying in mere minutes. Accompanied by its well-written music, insane performance from the voice actors, and its movie quality animation, made it the best episode of Mushoku Tensei. However, before we look back at it to understand why people love this episode so much, I want you to remember what happened before. The build-up to it.
Oh, I know.
Episode 20, The Birth of My Little Sister, starts out with Rudy being locked up in a cell by this little weirdo Pax after Rudy tried to save Lilia. He thought that he would be locked up there forever, but Zanoba, the third prince who idolized Rudy, wanted to become his apprentice so he can create figurines just like him. After a weirdly well-detailed 5-minute talk about the figurine, Rudy explained what happened and said that he can only be his apprentice if he helps him get out of the cell, which Zanoba solved quite quickly. Meanwhile, Ruijerd rescued the families of the guards and Lilia. Later they met up and it was a really nice and just heartwarming moment where Rudy got to talk with them for the first time after years of separation. They exchanged gifts and Daisha apologized for calling him a pervert. This episode everything seemed to be going really well. Rudy got to know people that are really important in the future of the story and he was able to save Lilia and Daisha while also making their relationship closer than ever. From Aisha initially disliking him to completely changing her attitude and wanting to spend time with him. Everything seemed to fall into place perfectly, setting the stage for the next episode, making it much more impactful. Episode 21 Turning Point 2 is an episode which beauty and passion are impossible to ignore, regardless of one's feeling about the anime. Everything about it was perfect, from the sudden mood change to the shock value to the emptiness and hopelessness that followed, leaving a profound psychological impact not only on the characters but also on the viewers themselves. It's an episode that borders on being impossible to recreate, somehow managing to not only perfect what the source material offered but also surpass it. The episode continues in a similar manner to the last one, where after a brief spar between Ruijerd and Eris, Ruijerd acknowledges Eris as a warrior. We see her overjoyed for the first time, actually happy about something. As a character, she went to a huge development in the past few episodes, and this moment felt like the finish line, where she's no longer just a little kid anymore. The next day, they continued their journey, happily discussing defeating red dragons. However, as soon as Rudy began to talk about the strength of the 7 great powers, both Ruijerd and Eris abruptly stopped moving, visibly terrified, an emotion Rudy couldn't comprehend as he felt nothing amiss. Suddenly, a man and a girl appeared on the other side. Ruijerd urgently warned them not to move under any circumstances, but the rocks, overwhelmed with fear, leaped off the side of the cliff. The man turns around and asks if they are Ruijerd and Eris, but he doesn't recognize Rudy at all, claiming that Paul was only supposed to have 2 daughters. Orset turns back, seemingly ready to leave, but then Rudeus does the stupid stupidest shit ever. What I never understood from this episode is why Rudy kept asking him questions. Their ox just jumped off a cliff. The strongest person they know is terrified and begging them to stop moving. And this guy is just like, so, how's the weather? After Rudy reveals that he knows the human god, Orsted attacks them instantly, leading to one of the most intense fight scenes in anime that lasts for 10 minutes that ends with the death of Rudy. The cool thing about the wall fight scene though isn't just that it looked good, but the technicality behind it and the way they just fought. While the concept of Ruijerd and Ares fighting was straightforward, based solely on their strengths, what really intrigued me was Rudy's approach to combat. Orsted's initial attack ruptured his lung, effectively neutralizing him as a mage since he couldn't cast spells anymore. Of course, Rudy can do it without speaking, and thanks to that he was able to keep himself alive by manually feeding himself oxygen. I love how it transitions from Rudy's desperation to survive to his determination to go for the kill, revealing just how terrifying he can be. His usual attack transforms into a sharp drill, heated to its maximum potential through friction. And let's not forget the fireball, the only attack in this 10-minute fight that catches Orsted off guard. However, the fight ends quite abruptly with Rudy seemingly dead, talking with human god. I really like this conversation because it was different from the other times they spoke. During the fight, it marked the first instance where Rudy truly experienced despair, while here, Rhodos accepted his fate, acknowledging that he lived a short but meaningful life. However, he wasn't actually dead. The girl traveling with Orsted asked to heal him. After waking up on Ares' lap, the episode ended abruptly, with a mix of sadness, confusion, and despair. What I really love about this episode is that everything happens so unexpectedly. The anime never really had a villain, the strongest character we knew was Ruijerd by far, and he got absolutely destroyed in 20 seconds. In anime where that isn't really common, it truly catches everyone off guard. The character of Orsted is also intriguing because he doesn't come across as a typical antagonist or someone inherently evil, but rather as an immensely powerful individual who exudes an aura of terror. But the coolest part is though that how many new emotions we can experience coming from the characters in such a short period of time that isn't really characteristic to them, yet you can relate to it, you can feel Rudy's despair, you can feel the hopelessness coming from Ares. What I really want to point out though is the overall production of the episode because every bit of it was movie quality. The actual animation itself is insanely well detailed. I love that they were going for perfection. In the first half we get these full-on action shots, not hiding any bit of movement, to then giving these close cuts that amplify speed and impact. The background art itself and the way characters fit into it is also just really cool. The way they play around with lightning on different instances is just so much effort that is mostly unnoticed. Like normally there is a clear contrast in daylight using these sharp shadows, but here in the storm it's more evenly spread because light coming from multiple places instead of just one main spot. All this combined with really well produced music and voice acting makes it such a great watch. What I really liked after this is that the writer let the anime just stay sad after this. There weren't really happy moments after that for the rest of the season. Everyone left.
It was
Rhodos was left all
turning
alone.
point to the whole series, like I'm trying to tell you, bro. Like most things, like everything was going up, bro. It was like, oh, you know, Ares is getting stronger. You know, Rudy is just saved. He just saved his sister and the other maid. And it's like, you think everything is about to go good. And then from this point on, the series just completely changed. Like, and it just did it in such a fantastic fashion, bro.
And that greatly emphasized just how
There's
much
not
impact this
episodes
one
in
episode
anime
had.
that do
Overall,
shit
this
like
is my
this no
favorite
more,
episode
bruh.
from the anime so far. It is a good mix of happiness and sadness with this great shock value. Now if you're curious about how I felt about the first part of season 2, click on this video, subscribe, like.
Great video, great video, great video. Great video, I'm not gonna lie to you. Great video on a fantastic episode. Great video on a fantastic episode there. Really went in depth. Really went in depth. And you and that's what I like to see. I gotta write down this character's name for a reason. Oh. I need. Oh yeah, that's his name. I need to write this down for an important conversation. Okay. Bet. All right. Next up, we got Koto Jujutsu High is aggressively dog water. Now, I've been saying this for a long time. I've been saying this ever since the end of the Shibuya incident. These motherfuckers, I don't even know why they showed up. They were told not to come in the first place, and they showed up, and they pulled up fucking Tony Stale numbers, fucking 40 minutes, and didn't do a single fucking thing in the whole arc, bro. So, let's see what Luca got to say about him.
You guys ever wake up and think to yourself, it's a beautiful day outside. Birds are singing, flowers are blooming. On days like this, people like you and I should be hating. And who better to hate on than Kyoto
Sounds like fucking Macron.
Jujutsu High. And people say it's well known. Being nice costs you nothing. But to that I counter, hating also costs you nothing. And listen, as we know on this channel, I went to Stanford. I'm in fact the smartest person that has ever graduated from Leland Stanford Junior University. So today, the presentation topic is how not to run a school. Manga spoilers are ahead.
Oh,
bear with me here.
why?
It's gonna be a
Why did you have to do it? You did not have to put manga spoilers in this video for it to be good, bro. Now I can't even hate on the one thing that I like to hate about in JJK, bro. I can't watch this. I'm not getting JJK spoiled today, bro. It's not happening. Alright. The best trope in fiction.
Tropes, for better or worse, are usually a necessary part of storytelling. You'd be hard-pressed to find any story that doesn't...
Talk to them. They need to hear that again. People don't understand that. Talk to them one more time.
Usually a necessary part of storytelling. You'd be hard-pressed to find any story that doesn't use some sort of trope, regardless of the medium it's being told in. Now, for the people who don't know what a trope is, the Merriam-Webster's dictionary describes it as a common or overused theme or device or a cliche. Some of these cliches would be enemies to lovers, the power of friendship, the main character having a demonic entity inside of them, just to name a few. But among all these tropes, there's one that gets me every time, and it's the focus of this video. This trope is called the enemy without. To understand the enemy without, let's go to TV tropes and see what it's described as. When someone's inner darkness doesn't quite take over someone, but it does escape their body and rampage. Fighting someone else's enemy without is tricky, as often it will either kill the person projecting it if it dies, or it will just resurrect itself until the actual darkness in the hero's heart is dealt with by the hero themselves. Often symbolically...
So fucking Sakuna...
represents repression and the hero's refusal to acknowledge the darkness within or some sort of aspect of themselves. Victory is achieved half the time via reintegrating with it. The other half of the time it can be seen as representing some inner demon, and thus it must be abandoned, purged, or confronted and conquered. Sometimes this battle will occur inside someone's own head in a dreamscape, making it both the enemy within and the enemy without at the same time. It may require saying "I'm not afraid of you" to weaken it enough to beat it. This approach to the trope is commendable, as it fosters a nuanced storytelling that encourages self-acceptance and personal growth. It emphasizes the notion of harnessing one's inner strengths rather than succumbing to perceived weaknesses. Today, I will delve into 3 of my most cherished examples, beginning with the main power system of Bleach revolves around the Zanpakuto, a sword that operates as an extension of the wielder's soul, being the physical manifestation of someone's soul. The closer you are with yourself, the stronger your grasp of your Zanpakuto becomes, as you learn more about yourself through your blade. If someone's instincts is in touch with their Zanpakuto, they are in touch with their soul. Something as simple as knowing your Zanpakuto's name could change the outcome of a battle between you and your opponent. It is key to power, your relationship with yourself. This is where Ichigo Kurosaki comes into play, a character so fundamentally at odds with himself and the power he was given at birth that he views it as a curse, and he's trapped in a constant tug of war with himself with his Zanpakuto Zangetsu. I've already made videos more in depth on Ichigo and why I find him fascinating, and I've briefly spoken about this relationship with Zangetsu before. It's just so well done, and it's one of Bleach's strongest aspects and embodies this trope to its core. Ichigo's rejection of his his darker side, the love for battle. That instinct that had led him to unintentionally suppress himself just like the other characters in this video, allowing himself to be taken by his inner darkness on different occasions. Even when Ichigo defeats this version of himself, it still lingers because the key to overcoming this darkness is to not overcome it at all. And that's the beauty of this trope, to embrace your darker half, use it to your benefit instead of fighting against it, allowing it to control you. Ichigo finally comes to this realization during the Blade is Me section of the story, accepting and realizing that this darkness was never his enemy. It was always there to protect him, a fundamental recontextualization of the story. And with this acceptance of Zangetsu, Ichigo is reforged anew, stronger than ever before, with no more fog clouding his thoughts. Bleach truly is a masterclass with its storytelling and its characters, and this being the first time I've encountered this trope, which brings me to my second example, and it's fitting to come after Bleach, because during my time with this story, all I could think about is Ichigo's relationship with Zangetsu. So, let's talk about Tekken is one of my favorite franchises of all time. It's the only fighting game that I keep up with when it comes to lore. In the sea of convoluted fighting game stories, Tekken is the one that I gravitate towards. It's silly, very tropey, but at times it's shown that it's capable of telling a very serious story when it needs to. And it has a lot of characters that are vastly interesting, and it's the reason why this video was made in the first place. I got done playing Tekken 8 story mode, and it does a lot of things right. One of which, and the topic of this portion of the video, Jin Kazama. Jin has always struggled with a darkness deep inside of him, and it's hindered his life for a long time, leading to many unfortunate events starting as early as 19, as he first unlocks this devil within him as a reflex action after being shot in the head by his own grandfather Heihachi. And ever since that new awakening, Jin has been on the run, not only from his grandfather, but from what lurks within, this constant rejection of the devil within. In his quest to rid himself of the devil gene, Jin cast the world into chaos, leaving death and destruction in his wake to draw out an ancient entity known as Azazel, thinking that defeating him would end the devil gene for good. This is in vain, however. Even though Azazel is defeated, it does not purge Jin of the devil within him, and it leaves Jin continuing down a path of redemption that Tekken 8 tackles. Within Tekken 8, we're given new information that recontextualizes a lot of older events within the Tekken lore, and in a way that makes more sense when looking back on those events. It's revealed that Devil Jin was never trying to harm Jin at all. He wasn't some evil entity hell-bent on destruction like Kazuya. Just like Zangetsu, it was there to help Jin. And looking back at the events of Tekken's past, this is pretty clear, because every time Devil Jin has emerged in canon, it's always been in self-defense. In Tekken 3, after being shot by Heihachi, in Tekken 4, during the battle with Kazuya and Heihachi, two people who were trying to kill Jin, and in Tekken 5 when Jinpachi awakens, which I theorize is the Devil Gene's defense mechanism to the evil spirit that possessed and resurrected Jinpachi in the first place. Now, Jin does end up being consumed by this power again in Tekken 5 after he's defeated by Haro, another defensive mechanism, as he needs to win the tournament to rid himself of the Devil Gene. This information, however, is revealed to us in Tekken 6, but it did take place during the events of Tekken 5. Speaking of Tekken 6, it is the only game where Devil Jin does not make a canon appearance within the story. He would, however, appear in Tekken 7, freeing himself from captivity and killing the soldiers that tried to kill him and Harong. This idea that Devil Jin isn't some malicious entity is further backed up during Jin's arcade ladder ending in Tekken 4, where he flies off, leaving behind one white feather among the black ones. And in Tekken 6, where Jin is arguably his most evil, Devil Jin never makes an appearance. Everything Jin does in the game is by his own hands. Tekken 8 makes Jin confront himself, question his old ideas about the devil within him, and he's able to accept this part of himself and treat it as an ally, allowing him to awaken to a greater power to eventually defeat Kazuya and ultimately save the world in the process. What I do love about Tekken 8 is the way it integrates its story into the gameplay. The confrontation between Jin and Devil Jin in this game transcends both narrative and gameplay. It masterfully weaves storytelling into the very fabric of the experience. Initially, players are led to believe they control Jin, only for the camera to swivel and control unexpectedly, shifting to Devil Jin during this heated confrontation. This seamless integration is nothing short of phenomenal, leaving a lasting impression. You know what else would be phenomenal? If you subscribed and liked the video. I make this kind of analytical content on all things pop culture, and if that's your style, I think this channel is the place for you. And I'd like to get to 20k by the end of the year, and if you want to take that support a step further, consider becoming a channel member or even joining the Patreon. If that's not your thing, you could use my referral link for Boomslang and get 10% off some sweet anime merch. Also, I have a Twitter, so
God
go ahead and give me
damn.
a follow there if you want to.
This
keep
guy
up-
said everything, bro. He said, like, I'm not going to stop at just the channel. The Twitter, the Instagram, the website, the referral link. I mean, I respect it, bro. You got to get it how you get it.
contact with me on a more personal level. And with Tekken out of the way, let's move on to my final example. If you're a fan of this series, there's a few characters that dabble with this trope, Terra being one of them, and even Aqua. But for this example, we'll be looking at the series' deuteragonist, Riku. Darkness has been a part of Riku since the very beginning. Unlike Terra, he was somewhat lucky to come to terms with his darkness early on in Rechain of Memories. In the original Kingdom Hearts 1, Riku becomes a vessel for Ansem, letting the darkness in his heart go unchecked as his body is consumed. After Ansem is defeated, Riku regains his body, but the darkness with him does not go away. It is intrinsically a part of his soul, and throughout Rechain of Memories, Riku begins his journey of self-acceptance as he faces off against his demons. This comes to a head by the end of the journey.
This kind of reminds me. This kind of reminds me like Naruto, for example, when Naruto had to go against his inner evil self. That's what this reminds me of. But like it's different because it's not necessarily the same because the Nine-Tails Fox was fucking trying to kill that motherfucker. He did not like Naruto at the beginning, so it's different from this, but it's kind of the same towards the end.
Choice: which road would he lead? The one of light or the one of darkness? Riku, having finally found himself, and probably the first person in the series since Xehanort to have a firm grasp at this point over his darkness, says this:
Neither suits me. I'm taking the middle road.
Do you mean the Twilight Road to Nightfall?
No. It's the road to dawn.
Similar to Ichigo, Riku's journey does not end here. He still grapples with the darkness in his soul throughout 258 over 2 days and Kingdom Hearts 2 respectively. He's finally able to get a full grasp of his darkness at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 and during his journey in Dream Drop Distance on his quest to not only become a Keyblade Master but to wake Sora from his sleep. What I like about the storytelling within this example is that not only does Riku's struggle and subsequent mastery of darkness reflect within the narrative, but it's also apparent within the gameplay as Riku uses both light and dark attacks moving forward. By the time of Kingdom Hearts 3, Riku is not only a master of the Keyblade, but a master of his darkness as well. This trope's brilliance lies within its ability to delve beyond physical conflict, crafting a deeper layer of struggle for its characters. Here, they are engaged in a fierce internal battle, forced to confront hidden truths and grapple with self-doubt and self-loathing. The exploration of the enemy within resonates profoundly, reflecting a universal human experience. The journey of self-discovery and the fight against internal demons are beautifully portrayed, making this trope a truly moving experience. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Maybe in the future I'll do more of these videos discussing tropes that I like, and tune in next upload when I discuss Ultimate Spider-Man 2024 and why I think it fundamentally understands Spider-Man as a character.
Good video beyond animation. Great video there. Alright, we were talking about Kagurabachi earlier. Let's talk about it again. We got the rise of Kagurabachi.
Company, Weekly Shonen Jump. In the summer of 2023, Japan's most popular manga company, Weekly Shonen Jump, announced a new manga called Kagurabachi, which is about a swordsmith who takes up the blade to get revenge for his father's death. While this seems like a simple premise, the manga instantly became popular, not because of the premise though, but because of memes. On September 10th, Weekly Shonen Jump released a now infamous Kagurabachi preview, which depicted the manga's protagonist, Chihiro, unsheathing his katana. This image blew up on Twitter, or X, with many people making memes about it. The basic format is to take a beloved manga series, like Naruto or Bleach, and say that Kagurabachi is better than it. These memes proliferated through the internet, spreading to TikTok, Reddit, and YouTube. Many of these memes garnered hundreds of thousands of views, with some even passing the million view milestone. Remember, all of this happened before the first chapter was even released. Eventually, the day the first chapter came, and people had some mixed feelings on it. Some felt that it lived up to the hype, while others believed that it fell short. Personally, I felt that it was a bit impulsive to judge the quality of a manga based on just a few chapters, but when I did read this chapter, I remember looking forward to reading more. As the weeks went by and new chapters were released, the manga remained popular, at least here in the West. In the manga industry, a manga's lifespan is determined by how well it does in Japan. While the Western opinion matters, it is truly the Japanese readers who are catered to the most. For instance, while
for manga readers, absolutely. Absolutely.
Kaku's Ayashimon was pretty popular in the English-speaking world. It wasn't as appreciated in Japan, which led to it being axed. So, while Kagurabachi blew up in the West, how did the Japanese readers feel about it? Upon release, Kagurabachi debuted at the #1 position in the Weekly Shonen Jump standings, making it the most successful manga of that week. After that, Kagurabachi tended to jump around the rankings, with the next highest rank it reached being the 4th position, and the lowest rank being a dangerous 19 out of 20. Currently, it sits at a modest 11th position, and holds an average weekly rank of 11.63.
Hey, that's
but
not
what
bad.
do these ratings mean for the future of Kagurabachi? Well, the lower the position of the manga, the more likely it is to be axed. In Kagurabachi's case, it is right in the middle of the pack, so it most likely won't be getting axed anytime soon. Similarly, it's one of the most popular manga on the Manga Plus app, which is the app used by Shonen Jump for people to easily read their manga. At the time of writing, Kagurabachi's first chapter has 1.6 million views on the app, and every chapter has upwards of 100,000 views. I would be shocked if Kagurabachi didn't survive long enough to have a 1-year anniversary, but stranger things have happened in the manga industry. So many of my favorites have been axed. This next statement might make me sound insane, but please hear me out. It's worth mentioning how Kagurabachi is quite literally changing the manga industry. While most overseas fans of manga are completely ignored by the industry, Weekly Shonen Jump has embraced Kagurabachi's overseas readers. This is because they took notice of how the memes made the manga have one of the most successful debuts of all time, and how the memes turned many foreigners into real fans. This is further represented in how the editor-in-chief of Weekly Shonen Jump discussed the manga's popularity at a panel, and how many newspapers and even some television programs discussed the anomaly of the manga's success. The impact of the West's influence was also reflected in the Amazon sales of the first manga's volume, which sold out in less than a day. Because of Kagurabachi, publishing companies are taking note of what the West can do to impact a manga, and hopefully that will lead to more companies translating their manga to other languages and making manga more accessible for a global audience. But what does the creator, Takeru Hokozano, think about all this? Well, he seems to be very grateful for his success, especially in the West. I feel like this is best shown in how he communicates with his audience. It is rare for a mangaka to engage with their Western readers, but Hokozano does it all the time. In a Manga Plus interview, he and his editor talked about how they appreciated their international audience, and how they were hoping for an anime adaptation. Thankfully, I think the fans already have this covered. As mentioned earlier, people were making memes hyping up Kagurabachi long before the manga came out. But now, over 6 months later, I think we can answer the question. Enough time has passed. Where does Kagurabachi stand compared to its contemporaries? Well, Kagurabachi has a strong story. It's about a guy named Chihiro, whose dad is the only guy in the world who can make these magic swords. Chihiro aspires to be like his father and become a special blacksmith one day, but then a shady organization takes out his dad. Now Chihiro wants revenge, so he takes up the magical sword himself. While the premise is simple, it quickly evolved into being a John Wick type of action story. Most recent shonen protagonists like Tanjiro from Demon Slayer or Deku from My Hero Academia are goofy, emotional, and impulsive. This contrasts Chihiro, who is methodical and takes time to make plans and logical decisions. While he does dress like he would make headlines for doing something bad at a school, in reality, he isn't very edgy. He tries to act cold and calculated, but he has a more chill side to him as well. The opposite is done in My Hero Academia, with Deku being warm and fuzzy most of the time, and acting like an edgelord at specific times. In my opinion, this doesn't work very well in MHA. It reminds me of the love vegetable, kill vegetable meme, or like someone getting 8th grade syndrome. So in terms of a protagonist, I find Chihiro to be more compelling than characters like Deku. Another aspect of Kagurabachi that makes it stand out from other manga is the fight choreography. Everything is well paneled, and you know exactly what is happening. This contrasts other shonen manga, like Trigun, where you need to simply not care about the paneling to enjoy it. The fights also have meaning behind them, and the characters think about what they're going to do, and even make plans on how to counter the opponent's skills and weapons. I know this sounds obvious, but so many manga have their characters run in, get railed, get back up, and pull a win out of thin air, or through the power of friendship, or some baloney like that. It always sucks when a manga acts like the reader is dumb, or will just go along with random stuff for no reason. The final solid aspect of this manga that I would like to discuss is the tone. For quite a long time, bright and colorful stories with themes of positivity and friendship dominated the shonen market. Stuff like Naruto comes to mind. In the past 5 to 10 years or so, this has been changing, with darker and grimmer stories becoming more popular. Like there's a dark trio, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise, that really set the tone for this shift. Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen are two of the most popular shonen stories of all time, and although recently they haven't been too solid, their beginnings were a good balance between creativity and edge. By being darker than usual shonen stories, they stood out, and currently Kagurabachi is doing the same. By tackling more mature subjects and making them more accessible for a younger audience, it's able to explore territory that few Weekly Shonen Jump manga dare to venture into. This sets it apart and makes it feel like a gloomy bit of fresh air for a demographic that is tired of the power of friendship. There are other positive aspects, like the power system being rather unique and the characters having depth. But those things should be the standard rather than the exception. My biggest criticism of Kagurabachi is the art. Do not get me wrong, Kagurabachi has some insane art, but the consistency of this art is a bit questionable. While the art during the fights is spectacular, Hokuzono definitely takes it easy during the mundane talking scenes. There's a few times where you could clearly see stuff that was just copied and pasted, mirrored, or zoomed in on. Obviously, it's understandable, as Hokuzono has ridiculous deadlines to meet, but when compared to similar manga, like Dear Anemone, it is slightly dubious. In Dear Anemone, the art is insane, especially for a weekly manga. This insanity does come at a cost though, as the negative space, gradients, and fog effects are sometimes used to communicate when a character is thinking. The main difference between doing this and copying and pasting is that copying and pasting is much more noticeable than this, which is a more common technique used in shoujo manga. It is significantly less egregious than the same dude's face being copied for 3 panels in a row. This could just be me being hypercritical, but I feel like Hokuzono can do a little bit better than that. So overall, is Kagurabachi what it was hyped up to be? I would say about yes. The art ranges from decent to amazing, the characters are interesting, and the story is compelling, with the tone being unique as well. I would take Kagurabachi over the manga about Naruto's kid any day of the week. At the time of writing, there's nearly 30 chapters out of Kagurabachi, so Hokuzono could easily mess things up. But so far, Kagurabachi has a promising future, and I look forward to reading more. In conclusion, read Kagurabachi, read Dear Anemone, and thank you for watching.
Solid video there about some Kagurabachi backstory for especially someone that, you know, hasn't read it, you know. Interesting. It is quite funny to see how Kagurabachi came up, but I mean, you know, when you get your chance, you gotta grab it and you gotta run with it. So hopefully the mangaka for Kagurabachi doesn't end up selling that. He doesn't end up selling that opportunity that he got. All right, we got the anime that doesn't care about story. But why is all my volumes at fucking the minimum value? Alright.
Whoa, this is sick. Aw, what a nice family. Oh no. Oh no.
Ninja Kamui, man.
Guys, I don't really like what I'm seeing. Can we change the channel? Ninja Kamui has some of the most insane action scenes, but only like 10 people have seen it so far. I don't blame you though. With huge titles like Frieren, Undead Unluck, and whatever the fuck this peak anime is, I'm not surprised nobody's talking about it. But if you are one of the lucky 10 people that happen to stumble upon
yeah, of course you like this, Macron. I'm not surprised.
Ninja Kamui, you might want to go to the doctors to get your diabetes checked, cause my god, have we been eating good. It's about this guy who wants to take revenge on a group of terrorists that hunted him down one night. In the process, they killed his entire family that the anime made sure we knew he loved very much. And that's about it. Nothing more, nothing less. But that's exactly what made movies like John Wick so easy.
Macron, like, you honestly think Ninja Kamui is better than Frieren? Please, you gotta stop it. At what point are you gonna stop with these bad takes? It gets sadder and sadder every day.
To watch. There's no need to actually listen to the dialogue because you're not there to watch guys solve their problems with words. You're there to watch them get fucked up by Keanu Reeves. Even the producers knew that. I mean, just look at how many lines he had in the 4th John Wick movie. And that's the same appeal as Ninja Kamui, except they kinda do pretend to have a story with a whole revenge plot, but if you ignore that bullshit, this is just a pure action anime with enough testosterone to make hair grow on your chest. This guy already has that and some on his balls. His name is
Joe Logan.
He's a loving husband that has a loving wife, and together they raise their lovely son in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere America. They live a peaceful life out in the farmlands where he does his podcast probably called The Joe Rogan Experience.
So have you ever done DMT?
But in the city,
another horrific murder has occurred. Authorities are currently saying that
See, look how they set up all this plot. They set up all this stuff for ninja fighting just to abandon it halfway through the series. Like, I don't understand it. Why'd you set up for this shit in the first place? Just to abandon it, bro.
killer on our hands.
serial murders are happening more and more often by a terrorist group, and nobody knows why. Good thing this guy loves his wife and kids, and reassures them it will never happen to their family. Bro forgot he's in an anime and he's not allowed to love his family that much. He ends up being the only survivor, gets put in the hospital, and the terrorists try to finish him off. Which is when we learn that Joe Rogan isn't actually who we think he is. He's actually Higan. He whoops this guy's ass, says his last goodbyes, and then burns his old house down in order to start his new life of exacting revenge on the terrorist group that destroyed the things he held so dearly.
Now, one thing I will say about this anime, and I think that 10 people would agree with me on this, is that despite never seeing this anime before, it feels very familiar. It has that very distinct art style, and the way that blood comes flying out of people makes me think of something like Cyberpunk Edgerunners. It also doesn't help that the world feels like it's being ruled by one huge company, making everything feel as dystopian as Night City. And the way these action shots were directed reminded me of something like Jujutsu Kaisen, where the characters are fighting and it feels like the cameraman is desperately trying to keep up with all the chaos. If you were like us and wondered, who the hell is crazy enough to have this kind of vision for an anime, it would be the one and only Sung-Hoo Park. While he didn't have a hand in Cyberpunk Edgerunners, he did direct the insanely great first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, which now makes perfect sense why Ninja Kamui's action scenes are so goated. The first episode
he must have abandoned direction after the first half of the series, because what the fuck did he do in the second half?
So just drops you in and showcases what you can expect from the rest of the show. Relentless action and beautifully sequenced choreography. The show doesn't feel much like your typical anime, rather it feels more like you're watching a movie in the form of an anime. From the camera cuts, to the detailed backgrounds, the excellent music choices, and the dynamic sound effects, they all work together to produce a cinematic feel to the fights, which is what we all came here to see. But in terms of a thought-provoking story, there's not much the anime really provides. The animation is brutal and impactful, yet every time they open their mouths to talk...
Shut up about the second half? Yeah, that's all I need to hear, Macron. You think the second half of this show was good? Like, every day, your opinion just gets worse and worse, bro. I don't know how you do it, bro. Every single day, every time you put something in the chat, it's just like you're trying to one-up yourself every time.
My brain wants to hibernate. In other words, the story is cliche and therefore boring. I can tell when shit's about to go down, who's gonna win the fight, and if there's any real stakes on the line, or if they're gonna have you in suspense until someone bails the main character out. See? Ninja Kamui is being produced by Adult Swim, and being an anime original, I don't see the show having much of a chance for a story, or at least a good one. But coming into the show for the story is like asking your fat math teacher for weight loss tips. Why would you? Something I appreciate about this anime is that it does feel like the writers are trying to keep the quote-unquote story to a minimum, while they maximize the amount of hands being thrown, which is their way of telling you what's happening. They also showcase a lot of different elements, and these things are being shown without us the viewers getting much explanation, whether it's something big or small. For example, in episode 2, this detective sets up a meeting with Higan at a Chinese restaurant, and as the owner leaves, you see some takeout just sitting on the table ready for pickup. I made a joke with Alan about these bags being Uber Eats orders, and what ends up happening?
Start talking. Tell me about the hospital.
Al's Eats, gyoza, chili fried shrimp, mapo tofu. Yep, looks like it's all here. Later.
Yup. After a couple of interruptions, they end up having to fight one of them because they turned out to be a Walmart Karen. And out of nowhere, Higan pulls out this bullshit move where he spawns arms from his back. Like, how come they never explained his abilities beforehand? And it occurred to me that the producer was trying to save us from the snooze fest expositions and instead tell us through the action. He knew that the story wasn't going to be close to par with something like Attack on Titan, nor would it ever reach the popularity, but what he did know was that they were going to have some kick-ass fights.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If the animation wasn't top tier, I wouldn't even bother watching it. We could kinda say the same thing about Demon Slayer. All action, story is mid, carried by animation. But let's put all that story talk aside and go back to the root reason why anyone watches anime in the first place. Because it entertains us. And watching Ninja Kamui stimulates my TikTok 2-second goldfish brain.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. This is why Macron likes it so much. This is why Macron loves it so much, man. The 2-second TikTok brain. I should have knew.
Click next episode every time. I do admit that it does get a bit repetitive, with the solution always being Keegan going to Pound Town, giving these guys the 5-knuckle shuffle.
And his name is John C.
And there are some plot holes that make no sense once you do a little bit of thinking. Like, this clan has these secret techniques that have existed for hundreds of years, but don't allow fellow members to get close to each other even though both men and women are accepted. Did they just expect the men to not think with their dicks? It's like they never talked to normal people before. But what never ceases to amaze me is how well everything is put together. The soundtrack never misses its mark. The fight scenes are smooth like butter. The punches, the kicks, and every single slash feels like they have some weight
look at
behind
all
them.
these fights. He showed a singular mecha fight because he knows that them fucking robots are fucking dog water. He showed not a single robot fight this whole video. A singular one, bro.
I've never been one to pay.
Why do the people that talk about this show in a positive light don't talk about how you're promised that, how you're shown that it's like some ninja fighting in the beginning, and then they just switch out, they just bring out some fucking random ass robot suits halfway through the show.
Much attention to these things, but when an anime makes it obvious to me these elements are top tier, they've really done something amazing. They also have some unintentionally funny things sprinkled into the anime that we just couldn't not talk about. Like this black guy named Big D that only cares about how clean his fades are.
If this ninja dares to try and mess up my new fade,
Yeah, so funny.
he's dead.
I'm not too sure what the writers were cooking here, but they couldn't have made a more racist character unless Big D loved fried chicken and dodging child support. But at that point,
Oh my goodness, this guy, bro, Macron, you're not real. How are you sitting here? How you gonna sit here and argue me about this being good and then say I dropped it at the mecha part?
He's dead.
I'm not too sure what the writers were
This
cooking
nigga is
here,
not
but they
real,
couldn't have
bruh.
made a more racist character unless Big D loved fried chicken and dodging child support. But at that point, even Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball Z would start looking less offensive.
Mr. Popo?
Hello.
If you want your fix of mindless action or something to watch while you eat, this is the anime for you. It's not every day you see a pure action anime with the animation being as consistently good as Ninja Kamui,
Look at
so
this
this
garbage.
is something you shouldn't miss. But if you're from America, you could probably turn on the news, see the local school shooting, and that would be just as good as watching the show.
I would never recommend Ninja Kamui to a single soul ever in my life. Nope. Don't care what occasion, bro. It had potential at the beginning, and then it betrayed me, and I'm Ninja Kamui K. It's that simple. Anime won't save you.
The Drifter loves watching anime in his free time. He's a pile of work to get done and plans on being successful one day, but watching anime is more of a priority to him. He thinks it's productive watching one episode a day, watching a couple episodes a week. He does not see a problem with it. But what the Drifter doesn't see is that he's not just watching one episode a day, he's watching multiple. He scrolls on the anime websites and procrastinates and thinks he's fine. But ultimately, deep down, the Drifter knows that anime will not make him successful, but repeats the cycle because he lacks the understanding of what this stuff actually does to him. The player sees the Drifter watching anime and gets flashbacks to when he used to watch anime and spend all his days binging. The player knows that anime is unproductive and instead uses his free time to get ahead in his goals and to level up in the real world instead of escaping into a fantasy world. The player understands that there's a time and place for everything, but anime simply will not save him.
Nigga, what?
You know, it's crazy for me to make this video because I like anime. I mean, I like watching these shows. So I was trying to find some core. Enjoy it. I like the characters. I like seeing the stories. I genuinely like this stuff. But why am I making this video? Why am I saying watching anime will not save you? Because that is 100% true.
This is like this is like someone getting on the internet and talking about playing video games won't save you. It's like me getting on the internet and saying drinking alcohol won't save you. Nigga, who thinks that their life is gonna be saved by watching some anime? Like, what is the? I don't understand, bro. I lose, bro. The internet loses me every single day, bro.
It will not save you towards your goals. I remember a couple months ago, randomly in my free time when I had nothing to do, I would just open up the anime websites and just scroll like, oh, like what should I watch now? When I know directly that there is some work for me to do. Like I know I need to script videos, film them, I need to edit, I need to do this, I need to do that. But that stuff seemed difficult. Anime was more important. It seemed more easy and comfortable to do.
So you don't.
I remember in 2020, 2021, I used to.
So you're using your personal priorities to like to someone that can put their priorities in the correct order. Like it sounds like you just need to get your priorities straight, bro. Like that's what it sounds like to me. I don't understand.
To like watch like 20 to 30 episodes a day. I was that type of guy because I had nothing to do. I was young. I had all this time. Unfortunately now I have to deal with his bad habit of that, and I have to kind of get rid of it. For all the people saying like, oh yeah, like anime's fine. Like one episode a day doesn't hurt. Like everything in moderation. That's fine, but stop coping. It won't save you. You know that deep down.
Bro, I'm not going to be able to get through this video. I'm just going to say that right now. There's no way I'm making it through 11 minutes of whatever this guy's chatting about. This guy just said, like, you got to understand, right? There's positive things that you can do. There's negative things that you can do. But you just said doing a negative thing or doing something in a moderation isn't going to save you. Like, who in the universe thinks doing something in moderation is going to save their life? That's like telling somebody, oh, yeah, bro, like, you can gamble, but if you gamble in moderation, like, that's not going to save your life. Like, I don't think that motherfucker thinks that shit's going to save his life. I think he just wants to do it because it's entertaining. It's fun. That's what he likes to do in his spare time. But he understands in moderation, he can do it without it being harmful. Like, what the fuck are you chatting about, brother? Fuck out of here. The problem with shonen anime.
What if I said to you all shonen anime is the same? For some of you that may not come as a surprise. For others, well,
I would say that you've only watched mainstream anime and you haven't watched anything in your life. That's what I would tell you.
Allow me to explain. Chances are you've seen at least one shonen series in your quest through the anime trenches. If you're most people, you probably watched either AOT, Naruto, Dragon Ball, My Hero, Demon Slayer, the list goes on. All of these shows have different settings, characters, and rules to the world, but what they all share is the same story skeleton, one that is far overused and needs a remodel. The model in question here is none other than the hero's journey. For those of you who have been through high school, that may strike a chord in the old Pandora box of memories. The hero's journey is often characterized by a call for an adventure, two people to aid the protag on his journey, a mentor, and usually a journey about discovering one's true potential to defeat the bad man before returning home. And there's nothing wrong with this story setup. It tends to be in a lot of them in some shape or form, but what is the problem here, especially in shonen anime, is that creators seem to not be interested in mixing it up a bit, changing some things around for, something that isn't three characters and their mentor moving in the same continuous cycle for 700 episodes. Now Naruto, you were a good one, but the same can't be said for your shitty sequel. You'll hear me a lot in my videos making jokes that characters are like Sasuke or Naruto or Sakura, and that's just because they are. Even down to a lot of the tropes they are based around. Just look at any main trio of characters. They tend to blend together if you look hard enough. This in itself is not the problem that needs to be faced and changed. It's more the lack of imagination and courage to move outside the norm. Take Jujutsu Kaisen for example. Great show, amazing animation, entertaining. But from a critical perspective, the show is way too predictable. It's already set itself up to follow the hero's journey to the T, and that's the problem I see we're being faced with. Too many shows lately want to follow what I'll call the perfect hero's journey, recycling the same elements of a plot, but with different looking characters and settings, pressed towards a fight with the big bad at the end of the series in a huge conflict. Now what I want here is some spice in my life, set my heart ablaze with some crazy leaps.
Oh my goodness, if that's what you want, go watch. Oh my god, there's so many different shonen, bro. Like there's so many different shonen. Like there's literally so many different shonen. So much different shonen. There's literally hundreds of different shonen. And you're gonna try to box shonen into a singular journey because you don't want to find one that's different. Bro, go find one that's different and stop complaining.
of fate, something that feels like the author wrote it not to please an audience, but because he wants it to happen. I won't go into detail on the ending of AOT, but when I read it, it felt like the ending was written as to not upset anyone, which upset everyone. Isayama set Eren up in a way that felt like his development up to the last chapter was completely disregarded at the end, just to seemingly keep the continuum of the perfect hero's journey. But hey, maybe it's just me that thinks that. A more formulaic example of a series is none other than Demon Slayer. It follows the journey insanely linear: two pals, a mentor, death of a mentor, return after battle, back into the cycle with small differences. The problem Demon Slayer faces the hardest is the growth in character. Getting stronger does not equal character development.
What the actual... Alright, looks like we're back.
Out of the sky, but most other elements of the journey are warped, changed in ways to make for a more interesting experience. The hero's journey wasn't supposed to be as formulaic as it's become. As shown in this diagram, the beginning and the end are known products. We know somehow our hero will overcome. What we don't know is how he'll get there, who he'll meet, what he'll change. But lately, the known part of the story has bled into what should be unknown. Character tropes become all the character is, with no personal aspects to him. Helpers that the hero meets become more predictable and similar from...
So you brought up like the perfect example of what you're calling like you brought up the perfect example, which is Death Note, that literally doesn't follow what you just said, and you gave it no credit. You'd even talk about how this is the type of anime that you would probably want to see more in the future, because it does literally exactly what it's doing exactly the opposite of what you're talking about, right?
Story to story. Serious, talented guy overshadowed by protag, funny, powerful friendship guy, logical support person, knowledgeable, cool mentor. There's nothing wrong with stories that have these character types, it's just that the sheer amount and the lack of deeper personality can be problematic. AOT has these elements, but it succeeded in making the character morph out of just being that. The time skip showed them more mature, showed them feeling more of the weight of what they're doing, which was already starting to bloom in the third season. Before then, you could make a strong argument that it was just following the basic formula. Its journey went from the unknown, being known, to becoming unknown again by making their characters transcend their original shackles of their character trope. A perfect save. If you've gathered anything from what I've said up to this point, I want it to be that the hero's journey isn't bad, but it's how it's being used is the problem. I want more variety in how they're told. Obviously, the hero's journey aspect will be an ever popular dynamic for a genre made for young lads, but I think there is something to be found in how stories like Death Note, Code Geass, or hell even Spy X Family bring a different feel to this same archetype of story. At the very least, writers should look towards stories like Chainsaw Man or JoJo to see how to spice up the journey when not straying too far from the path. JoJo does well to parody the journey, basically saying, this is every hero's journey in a nutshell, and now we're gonna do it 5 times. Chainsaw Man says, look, we got all the basic setups you're used to in this shit. Now we're gonna fuck it all up in the second half. So yeah, bear in mind not all shonen are predictable and formulaic. It'd be like saying all isekai follow the same path. While 95% are doing the same shit, there's 5% out there that sets its own path ablaze, making some A-tier content. Same applies here. All some of these shows need to go from meh to hey, that's pretty good is some stylistic choices. Intentionally deciding, hey, this character's really fucking basic. Let's flesh him out and make him something unique. Or hey, the plot here is really predictable and dragging. Let's do something here that's unusual to create tension in the story. Better yet, for you shonen out there who think more is better, hey, this story is so fucking long that a portion of our audience is probably gonna die before it's finished. Maybe we should work towards an actual conclusion instead of dragging it along until we bite the dust. You know who you are. So to conclude today's critique and advice for the People's Republic of Anime, don't be afraid to be different. Add that spark to the story that'll give you some momentum and tension. There's more to the making of a hero's journey than following patterns, so use that oddity known as creativity to make something only you can do. Inspiration is done best when it's an additive and not the main ingredient. Cheers. Wake me up when Death Note 2 drops. I love you. Johnny. Now before this video ends, I want to take a moment and tell you about...
Yeah, shut up. We don't care. Alright, we got the death of teamwork in the anime industry.
The anime industry is dying. And before you say, I knew it, them Chinese are killing the Japanese industry. No, that's not what I'm talking about. The anime industry is not collapsing because of competition. The dongo industry will never catch up to the anime industry because they simply don't have the resources or the manpower to pump out as much content as the anime industry does on a regular basis. It's not external forces that's affecting the industry. The problem is internal. First of all, I have to say that this video is sort of like a follow-up to my other production analysis videos, particularly this one, where I go over the large-scale problems of just too many shows being made, which is just harming the animation industry. In this video, I'm going to talk about the smaller scale stuff, how the individual people working on the shows are affected. And of course, since they're affected, it will result in a domino effect that affects the entire industry. The idea of art as a whole it's very complex, it's very deep, and the perception of art is different for many people. But there are two things that are common with most art forms. For the creator of the art, it's a means of expression. And for the viewer, it's a means of escapism. The purpose of anime is to take you out of your boring, shitty life and put you into this unique, beautiful world that has been created in a way that it feels fantastical, but you're so engrossed in it that you feel it's real. And the creation of such a world is no easy task, especially when you're only working with 2 dimensions. It requires teamwork involving people who have specialized talents, the directors whose ideas form the basis of the world, the animators who put the director's idea on paper, and the background artists who invent a living, breathing world around these characters. And of course, that's only half the components. This is only the visuals. There's also the audio department, music, sound effects, and voice acting. So for these many people doing completely different things, to be on the same page, literally, the initial plan will have to be laid out in the best possible way, and it is done in the form of layouts. Layouts refer to rough animation that forms the basis of the entire project. The first step in the making of both manga and anime is laying out the storyboard. Storyboards are just rough sketches detailing what the final product will look like. What separates anime from manga is movement, and layouts are where movement is born. Having an actual highly detailed layout will do wonders for the process of animation. For example, let's take Vids Studios' Attack on Titan, right? It's got so many moving parts. You need animators who are usually freelancers. You have the CGI crew. There's a lot of CGI backgrounds in Attack on Titan, and the CGI is done by an entirely different studio. And there's compositing, which is again done by a different studio. So it's crazy to just watch scenes that look like this and just wonder as to how all of these completely different teams were able to communicate their ideas so properly. And for the answer to the question, all you need to do is look at the basic layout by Arifumi Imai. You'll see that the rough character model conveys the movement perfectly. He also makes background sketches of buildings that the CGI crew is going to use as reference to make the models. And that is why Arifumi Imai was able to create animation sequences of such high level of quality, working in a team where pretty much every single component was done by a different group of people. His ideas were never lost in translation because he laid out his ideas so perfectly. Now, layouts have been around for a long time, and it really came forth as a major component of animation in Hayao Miyazaki's work in Heidi. You can see here that the layouts are absolutely godlike. Not only does he convey the framing and the movement of the character models perfectly, which is what layouts are supposed to do, but he goes a step beyond and also pretty much maps out the backgrounds for the background artists to then work on it. And while you rarely see layout of this level of detail, it is still an extremely important thing to have because they make up for the inability of storyboards to properly convey the ideas of framing and movement. Unless, of course, you're talking about Megumi Shitani storyboards, they literally look like colored manga panels. So the established dynamic between the director and animator for a long time, it's been that the director will put forth the storyboards, but ultimately the animator makes the decision of what the movement will be like via the layout, unless the director is doing the layout. But in most cases, animators are the ones who do the layout because the directors are usually busy as fuck with storyboards. And since the animators are able to express movement in their own unique way with their layouts, it allows for the anime medium to have the level of creative expression that no other industry is capable of matching. This is of course only true if the animator's ideas are still present in the final product, because there are a lot of stages where their ideas could just get fucked. Let's take a good example of teamwork.
It's like a coach, right? That director's like the coach. Like you lay out the play, but like if you're not laying out the play and explaining the play, then like, you know, the people can't come in and draw the play. They can't come in and do the play effectively. It's all about the draw up. It's about the layout. It's about how good can you show them that what their job is in that play. So that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense.
The industry should strive towards, pretty much. if I'm talking about good teamwork, it is pretty much mandatory that I use Ufotable as the example. So here's
Like, why does my internet just randomly spike to the fucking dumpster can? I don't understand it for the life of me.
And the way the background interacts and moves along with Zenitsu is a work of art. This is the kind of stuff that makes Ufotable. And the compositing here is just good. It's just lighting. It's not overblown like some other Ufotable scenes. Here it is just right. And the reason this cut ended up being so perfect is because of teamwork. Nozomu Abe's ideas were conveyed to the CGI department and the compositing department so well because they were with him when he was animating the scene. They were probably sitting across him, helping each other and communicating on how to do their works. Now let's pick out one parallel world from the multiverse where Ufotable sucks. Oh god, that's gotta be the worst universe out of the entire multiverse. But let's say Demon Slayer was just your average anime project. The director will make the storyboard for the scene, and they'll come to a roadblock because they have no animators. The role of acquiring animators then falls onto the production assistant, who will have to recruit animators to work on the show in a tight production schedule with minimum pay. The production assistant goes to Twitter and finds some animator willing to do the layout. The animator draws the layout as well as he can with the amount of experience and time that he has, using the director's storyboards as reference. Then the key animator, and a completely different person, takes that layout and draws the keyframes for it. He might understand the ideas mapped out by the layout artist and then just draw the keyframes for it, or not understand it, changing the movement into something completely different and mapping out the keyframes for that. Then the second key animator, again a completely different person, comes in to fill in the gigantic blanks left by the key animator because there's only so many keyframes you can draw in a tight production schedule. Then comes the animation director, again a different person, who makes the corrections. The product at this point might look decent and the animation director just makes corrections to it, or the product might look like a jumbled fucking mess, which the animation director will then have to make corrections for. And depending on how much of a jumbled mess it is, the animation director might just completely reanimate the sequence. The Genga will then be shipped off to China, Philippines, and South Korea for slaves. In between animators to work on it. And if there's CGI in the scene has to be outsourced to the CGI crew, and finally outsourced again to the compositing crew. Unfortunately, this is how anime is being made today. Anime today is just made by a group of strangers who have no connections with each other, who just do their part with no communication with the other members, and just, I guess, hope that their ideas make it to the final product. Now you might be thinking that there's no way it can get worse than this, but oh, it can. What if these people trying to survive by just doing their part are forced to do more than just their part? For Attack on Titan's final season, the production schedule was so bad that some of the in-between animators were in charge of cleaning and corrections, which is supposed to be the role of animation directors, which usually comprises of veterans in the industry. And right now we have the Ruby anime, where second key animators are doing Doga. Second key animators at this point, as I said in like a previous video, they're just glorified in-betweeners. Now this forms a very complex vicious cycle which massively hurts the industry. No one here is coming out on top. The production assistants, they have one job, that is to get as many animators into the project as possible. You, literally you, watching this video, you could work on anime. You could just go on Twitter and put the title of animator in Japanese in your bio, and you might be contacted by production assistants to work in some show. I'm not even kidding. Just make sure you've posted some of your rough animations or some of your rough artwork. This could even be a really cool experiment. Just go to Twitter and say that you're an animator, and maybe you'll be approached by a production assistant. And these junior animators, they're thrilled with the idea of working for an anime. So they just go nuts to butts with what they're working on, make the scene look unnecessarily complex with really rough looking models. And the end result is just a poor looking layout that is also needlessly complex, and all it does is make the animation director's job much harder. They're gonna have to make more corrections, and in some cases they're gonna have to completely reanimate the scene. Now if the layout is good, however, that changes nothing as long as the production schedule is still bad and there is no communication between all of these people involved. A good example of this is Vincent Chansard's scene in My Hero Academia. Vincent Chansard is an extremely talented animator, and he made a really beautiful looking sequence for My Hero Academia's episode 21, I think, with the sequence where Toga transforms into Ochako. And the final product that we got, it looked nothing like the layout. Because Vincent only did the layout. He didn't do the key animation. Maybe
Yeah.
because the schedule was so tight that he couldn't do it. Or more likely is that key animation was not asked out of him. He was just contacted to do the layout for this. And of course, what he'll do is make a layout that looks incredible without taking production conditions into consideration because he's not even part of the production. The scene is extremely complex, so key animation for this will require a lot of work. And so it was just entirely scrapped. The final product looked nothing like Vincent Chansard's layout, and his layout was just wasted. It was not even used for the Blu-ray. If the production schedule was better, then the final product would definitely utilize ideas laid out by Vincent Chansard's layout, or Vincent would have gotten to do his own Genga. But even if the production schedule sucked, as long as if there is at least communication, he could have dumbed down his layout, adjusted the quality to match the bad production schedule. Another example of good layout being pretty much ruined is with the case of Mehdi Aoi Choi. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Mehdi animated the fight scene between Nanami and Mahito, and his layout looks really good. The movements look really clean, they look really nice. And his layout was fucked at every single stage.
Damn.
His animation had too many frames, too much detail to be converted into the final product with the mediocre production schedule for that episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. So the final product that we got looked extremely stiff, and it also had a bunch of animation errors. For example, in this scene, in the layout, you can see that Nanami is sliding. In the final product, this scene is just skipped. We don't see Nanami sliding, so it just looks like Nanami teleported. This bit of animation where Mahito is gathering purged energy, also removed from the final version. Nanami's running scene looks completely awkward in the final version. The exchange of blows between the two also turned to shit. Then there's the zoom in of Nanami's face, which is supposed to show Nanami's eyes. That's a cool idea. But in the final product, they just zoom in without showing Nanami's eyes. So that idea is just completely lost. What is even the point of zooming into Nanami's face now? The landing scene in the layout looks really good with some very good looking effects animation. And in the final product, the effects are just completely ruined. Not to mention with the subtle movements within Mahito's hair, his clothing, and also Nanami's clothing. All of that completely ruined in the final product. And if that wasn't enough, the background looks absolutely disgusting. The CGI looks awful. This is the kind of CGI I expect in a first-person shooter game set in the 2000s, where there's a mission in which you go through the sewers. And the compositing is not doing the CGI any favors. It's just adding this extremely ugly-looking textures on top of the already ugly CGI. And this sucks. This really sucks. It is a system where everybody is losing. If it's talented animators like Vincent and Mehdi who are making the layouts, it sucks for them because their work is just being wasted since it's barely being used in the final product.
Damn.
If it's junior animators making the
Damn, that
layouts,
sucks
it also
for
sucks for them because they're not getting to see their work through. They're not growing as animators. They don't even understand if their work is good or not. They're just doing work. And the key animators, they're completing works that is not even their own. And since there's a huge disconnect between the layout artist and the key animation, it might result in a product that is not very good, which results in more work for the animation director. More work for the animation director, already one of the most busy roles in the creation of anime, results in bringing in more animation directors to the project who might have very little to no experience, resulting in a bad final product. This system is killing the animation industry. Comparing this to the system that used to be, it's night and day. Let's take Arifo Mimai, one of the greatest action animators in the industry. Let's take his career as an example. He started off as a junior animator who did in-between animation for production IG shows. In 2009, he worked on Sengoku Basara, where he did in-between animation, but he also got the opportunity to do key animation. He made the most out of that opportunity. He did some amazing key animation work for Sengoku Basara, especially this horse flipping animation thing. That is just so fucking unique. It looks so crazy, but it looks so good. The next major project he worked on is Guilty Crown, where he did key animation and now also did animation direction. At this point, he was already a relatively well-established name in the industry, and so that, combined with his connections with Production IG, put him into Attack on Titan's production, where he was an action animation director and the lead action animator. And the rest is history. He became one of the greatest action animators ever. In 2015, his fame brought him into One Punch Man, and recently he worked on Osama Ranking, where he was the assistant director.
Yeah.
This is a natural, healthy progression for a person who's part of the industry. By healthy, I mean he still worked his ass off to extreme degrees, but it is still a relatively healthy progression. Now take a junior animator approaching the industry today. Chances are they're not going to do internships in animation studios. They're not going to do in-betweening either. They're just going to be contacted by a production assistant and asked to do layouts. They pour their heart and soul into the layouts and then just give it away to the production team, who they're not even a part of. And then they just fuck off until they're contacted by production assistants again, and they just scribble out another layout for them. They're not getting the opportunity to grow their talents. The industry has come to a halt in terms of progression for the younger talent. Are there ways to fix this? There are actually, and there are two in particular. Okay, take your guesses, alright? What are the two things required for the anime industry to keep progressing? You will never guess the right answer. Okay, here goes. You need more money and more time. The directors being used as a cum dumpster. They're just pumping out storyboards. They cannot afford to lay out their scenes with love and care, because taking more effort won't give them more money. What will make them more money is just pumping out as many storyboards as possible. And if you think for one fucking second that they're doing this because they're greedy, you're completely wrong. The directors are focused on making money, not because they're greedy, but because the industry is forcing them into such system. They're focused on making money is because money allows them to survive. There are directors who have failed to do that. Now, these basic necessities required for survival is not even necessary for these people if they at least have the time to craft what they want to do with the passion. But alas, they don't even have that luxury.
Damn.
So yeah, what's gonna happen? Your favorite high-profile shows, they're not gonna be affected. Demon Slayer, obviously not gonna be affected. Shows like Mob Psycho 100, Chainsaw Man, they won't be affected much either. In those cases, the people involved are so big that the production assistants don't even have to actively seek out animators.
Yeah, they just
Everyone wants to work on these shows.
Right.
And because the projects have enough time and money going into it, for the passion of all of these people working in it to be explored, it's not going to cause any issues. But shows like Ruby and One Direct Priority, which would have been high-profile shows, those kind of shows are going to suffer. And the current system will eventually die. And it's up to us to stick around and witness what will come out of its ashes. And yeah, that's about it. I know this was kind of a depressing
It's a good video. No, it was a good video. Good video about animation and learning about it. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, great video, to be honest. I fucked with it. I fucked with it. I fucked with it. I fucked with it. But not gonna lie, this is gonna be a short one for me. Little short one. Little short one. Like I always say, but if you stuck around to watch some of these videos, I appreciate you, bro. Straight love from Hezzy. I appreciate anybody that came in today, even though, you know, might have been a more quieter day. I appreciate y'all, bro. Appreciate y'all. What am I listening to? What am I listening to?
なんかそわそわしてる？こういうお店は初めてだっけ？そっか。それじゃ簡単にお店のことを説明しちゃおっかな。
What? I'm actually lost. I don't know what I was just listening to. I don't know where that just came from. I'm actually genuinely lost on where that just came from. That was weird. That was so weird. Alright, anyway, regardless. I love y'all, bro. I'll talk to y'all later. I don't know if I'm gonna stream tomorrow, but we'll see, bro. We'll see. Love y'all though. Appreciate y'all.
I've seen hell